Wendy Bell Radio is live.
Good morning, America. How are you? How are you? There we go.
And we are off tomorrow.
Yeah, so tomorrow, a kind of a strange situation, but I am very excited to visit my son in school. So Joe and I will be traveling to Clemson, South Carolina to see Michael and see the homecoming game. It's Clemson taking on Boston College.
And who's Joe rooting for?
His alma mater, Boston College. And we had made these plans before Jack decided that he wanted to transfer from BC to Loyola Marymount.
So they had an extra ticket and could have taken me?
Now, do you know how much tickets cost through BC to go to this game? Because you would think, I remember when I was at Colorado, I mean, granted, that was a billion years ago. And this was probably before Colorado.
Before football.
Shut up. Before Colorado was good, or at least cheated to be good.
Were you there with Rashad Salam?
Yes. No, that's not him. That was Notre Dame, wasn't him? Wasn't that? I was there with Eric Bieniemy and Sal Anesi and Cordell Stewart.
Oh, okay.
And those guys.
So no, he was after you, but go ahead.
Was he? I thought he was with, I thought that was the Rocket. That was Ishmael, wasn't it?
That was Rocket Ishmael. He was Notre Dame.
Then you're correct. Yes, I beg your. Of course, I shouldn't question you about that. But anyway, you would get your season tickets, and they'd be like $20, your student price for season tickets to go to a CU game at Folsom Field. I love how you're not even listening to me. Don't you love how men do that when you're talking and they start texting? I'm like, there's nothing aside from rolling your eyes at me and going that I dislike more.
First off, do I not do 10 things at one time?
Pay attention to me.
Don't I do multiple?
Pay attention to me. Yes, you do. Guess how much the tickets were?
$150.
Oh my God, no, $80. But I thought $80 was a lot of money for a BC and Clemson. That's not a good team game. Really? Come on. But
you don't even know who the players are. Should you be judging how good they are?
I know my lane. I know my limitations. I don't pay attention.
So that was all roundabout of why I wasn't invited.
We only got 3 tickets, so no, you weren't invited, and nor would you have come because you're going golfing.
She doesn't know that.
I know that. Right?
It's not like I'm going on a trip to go golfing. I'm going golfing where I always go golfing.
Your club.
Well, that's because I'm not invited to your club.
Oh. You want to tell everybody about your club?
Nemacolin? It's a nice club.
Nemacolin is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful place to golf.
Why don't you tell them how many times I've invited you?
Oh, probably a dozen. Yeah. I'm sorry. I do have a few other things going on. As much as I'd like to take 5 hours out of my day. Oh, my God. You guys, we've got so much today. And I'm going to be we've got to get through it because I don't want any dangling chads. I don't want any lingering,
dangling participles.
Right? I don't want any of that. Wow, you remember something from English.
Well, it's the shirt.
Oh, thank you very much. Do you guys see it? Can I see it?
Back up and move over.
Yes? Don't let my big chest get
It's part of a lie.
What?
This is the big lie.
I'm silently correcting your grammar.
She's silently doing it.
The best is that I've infected my kids with that now. So when their friends
they are
over,
very,
when their friends are over and they say the wrong thing, they all look at me and I was like, yes.
They just look at you with their friends. They openly comment with me.
It's so funny. They also love it when you.
I don't chew like that. So that's
no, he just hunkers over his food like a Neanderthal. Like somebody's going to come and take it. This is yours. I probably paid for it. So you can have it.
One, fake news.
No, but
2,
when people.
For you to say this is yours as you grab a fry off my plate without even asking before I even take a bite.
Ladies and gentlemen, I took 1/400th of a potato from Brock's plate. I will never,
it's the principle.
Ever do it again.
It's the principle.
I beg your pardon.
It is a nice shirt. Wonder where she got it.
I have apologized vociferously and multiple times. You owe me a quarter for that word.
Yeah, right.
This is the problem with lipstick. La, 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 la. Come on, I'm a girl. I gotta have lipstick. It is what it is. All right, so we're going to do in order probably 10, 11, 14, 12.
Just say the number, right?
Okay, and then there's that. We've got sound galore. We have hypocrisy on high. Oh, my goodness.
I didn't print me out a list. That's why.
I beg your pardon. Okay. Well, whose fault is that? Mm-hmm. I'm going to have the shakes because I'm having this big gulp of sugar, cream, and caffeine.
I'm teeing off at 7:15 tomorrow. You know how cold it's going to probably be?
It's probably going to be cold, yeah.
You're going to have to wear pants.
Oh, no. My husband wears gloves whenever it gets below 70. Kid you not. We take Murphy out and he's wearing gloves. I'm like, dude, it's 68 degrees. And he's like, it's chilly. He's going to be the guy who wears a cardigan at the beach.
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Here we go.
Michael, if you're listening, I love you. Good morning. We'll see you soon.
And thanks for the invite, Michael, if you're listening.
Wow. It's all about Brock.
Wow.
Literally. Good morning, America. Happy Thursday to all of you. It is the last day of September 2021. You are tuned in. We are locked and loaded right now on the Wendy Bell radio program. We're so excited to have you along for the ride. As always, we bid a special good morning to our friends on Talk Radio 1240 WRTA in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and also those of you tuning in on Winchester, Virginia's News Talk 1400. Hello, more stations day by day added to the layer. Cannot wait to have more of you along for the ride. Let's do what we do. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Well, this just in. I am very sad to report I did not win Jagoff of the Year. It was a hard-fought battle here in the Pittsburgh region where common sense conservatism is so threatening, and anybody, especially a cute, young, curly-haired conservative like myself,
fake news,
wow, is in the running to be Jagoff of the Year. Now, some people don't understand that word. They find it offensive. Do not be offended by it. It is in the dictionary, and it basically means an irritating person, an irksome person, okay? And when you speak truth and facts and data, yes, and your truth and facts and data directly contradict the feelings of the people on the left. I should probably go this way. On the left, you become fodder for Jagoff of the Year. There is a very not known publication. It's the kind of newspaper that hamster cages and parakeet cages know well. It is exceedingly off the rails, bonkers, bananas, left. What are you saying in there?
It's free.
Yes.
It tells you all you need to know.
It's free,
it's
right?
It's like the penny saver.
And they do this, best of worst, whatever, best of best stripper. This is great. If you've got a category of the best of your city and stripper is one of them, we know what kind of publication we're dealing with. You could imagine the leftist, socialist, Marxist, crazy communist mentality that goes into the one individual who actually writes all of the triggered, outraged, woke columns in this particular rag. And he has, I have to admit it, he has a thing for me. It's kind of uncomfortable when somebody just is staring at you all the time and you're like, I'm sorry, but I'm married. And they just love you. He loves to hate me. And so it's been a very enjoyable exercise in watching the left go completely bonkers at what I say. And every single day, a couple bloggers or tweeters take snippets, like literally they watch this entire program from soup to nuts, alpha to omega. It is the greatest. I live in their brains every day, and they take snippets out and extrapolate what I've said to blow it up for clickbait. That's what it is. Wendy Bell said this. Click, click, click. Okay, whatever. I'm helping them out. See, that's the capitalist way, right? I like it. So anyway, one of these guys who's a common frequent flyer on this newspaper website, has his own blog, he just loves to talk about what I say and what I do. So I reached out an olive branch. I was very disappointed that I came in second place in this particular publication's Jagoff of the Year, because, ladies and gentlemen, in all sincerity, it is so tragic to be irrelevant, right? So if you have a platform or an ideology or a mantra that you believe in that manages to completely infuriate the left so that all they see are stars, I think you're doing a good job. I personally think I should have won, and I'm upset that I didn't.
They did admit to rigged elections because he said it was rigged because you should have won.
See?
Because you are the biggest jagoff. So,
well, then there's that.
So elections.
You know, the elections have consequences, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to tell you. So anyway, I reached out to this one individual who's particularly triggered by me. And I said, you know what? This could be a tremendous opportunity, all joking aside, to have someone who vehemently dislikes you and everything that they think you represent, to bring them on to a program like this with utmost respect. I'm not going to hit any low blows. I'm not interested in making this individual look silly. I literally just want the conversation. And I said to this man, I said, you know what? I think this could be a weekly segment. I would love to give you a chunk of time on my show to show what the other side is thinking. How do you rebut or refute what I present? And so I said, well, what do you say? Why don't you come on and I'll give you this space? Brock even said, if this individual wanted to sponsor, if they wanted to get a sponsorship for it, we would provide that sponsorship money to them. This could blow up his blog. This could be huge. And he said no. Wouldn't even consider it because, he says, he feels sorry for me. That the things that I talk about are going to cost some of you your health. That some of you, because you listen to me, are going to become sick. Some of you very sick. In fact, some of you may well die because you listen to me. Because I am a vaccine denier, which is factually incorrect. And one would think that as long as these individuals have listened, that they would actually hear what is said. There is no more civil, honest conversation. And that, I think, is the worst takeaway of this dire political climate, where you are so entrenched in whatever your side is saying or spewing or selling, and it's both ways, that you are incapable of listening to somebody who disagrees with you. And then beyond that, not just listening, but maintaining a relationship with that individual. This gentleman said, no, he just felt too sorry for me. Couldn't do it. Didn't want to be here. And I said, you know what? That is a real shame, because we have a tremendous opportunity in this country, ladies and gentlemen, to talk to an ever-growing core group of Americans. The longer crazy land continues under this administration, the more deeply divided we are. the larger the middle becomes. And the middle is truly the heartbeat of America. The middle is where the hard work in this country is done. It's not in extremism. It's not in intolerance. It's not about outrage. It's not about free stuff and me. The middle is where we need to remember to gather. And this is the voice of America that is being ignored. This gentleman might not want to come on this program because he says he feels terribly sorry for me. But the reality is, people who hide behind keyboards to yell at each other don't have the ability to express themselves in the moment, honestly, factually, live. They just don't. That is why we don't talk anymore. I would love to have reasonable conversations with people who I deeply care about, who I have known for longer than I could possibly imagine, who are so liberal. And I've known that for years, who don't talk to me anymore because I'm a conservative talk show host. I'd love to sit down and say, what happened to you? What happened to you? We might fundamentally differ on some things, but by and large, this is preposterous. This is really what you want to do. You want to throw away a relationship because you're unwilling or incapable of having a meaningful conversation with me. And sadly, that's where we are. So while I am the silver medalist today, I'm winning gold in all your hearts.
You're number one in my heart.
See, I appreciate that, bro. The bottom line, honestly, we have great stuff for you today. Okay. I wanted to get that out there because, you know, there's a liberal in your life who doesn't like you because they think they know how you feel and they misconstrue your thoughts and your words because they don't take the time to understand you because you're different than they are. Well, you've always been different than they are, but I guarantee you, you've always known that and you still liked them anyway. All right, coming up on the program, we've got the BS board behind me. We've got some fuzzy math I think we need to work through. Now, arguably, math, not my strong suit. There's a reason I did journalism, okay? However, my children in the 8th grade can connect these dots, and we are going to connect them for you coming up momentarily because we're told all of this money that this government wants to spend, it is imperative that we do all of these trillions of dollars of things. They say, seriously, looking you in the eye, your taxes will not go up. We're going to talk about that. Milley, General Milley on the hot seat yesterday. General Milley, more worried about his Facebook following than 13 U.S. service members killed in Afghanistan. You'll hear this whole line of reasoning coming up in just a minute. First, I want to tell you about Advanced Integrative Medical 360 and thank my friend Dr. Darren Dubiak for being the premier sponsor of the Wendy Bell Radio program. AIM 360 is Pittsburgh's #1 hormone weight loss center. But what they do is available to those of you listening in 47 states, okay? So this is super relevant to you, and I want you to check them out. Go to integrativemedical360.com. Everything they do, which hinges on a blood test, 60 biomarkers, a dozen hormones that tell the story of you and your body. And when Dr. Dubiak gets those results back and sits down with you and talks to you about them, you begin your path to wellness. I'm a patient. I speak from experience. 412-227-9255. One more time, 412-227-9255 on the web, integrativemedical360.com. All right, coming up, I'm going to lay the groundwork of the board. Then we're going to put on our math hats. We're going to walk through this, and we're going to talk about the economics of socialism, because that's what this jazz is. Make no mistake. Go nowhere. You're listening to the Wendy Bell Radio program. Holy loud walkers. Do people have like bricks in their
heels.
shoes? No, that was just the dude.
Oh. Can I say something else? It's unfortunate for the blogger that she was talking about. Is like, I'm all about free speech, and we're doing the app, and I even said to Wendy, I'm like, we'll give him a podcast.
Why not? Wouldn't you
not?
love to hear somebody?
You can sell it. We'll give you the analytics that you can go out and sell it if you want.
I would love that.
Here's the opportunity. These opportunities don't come along every day, and to be so short-sighted out of hate.
Right.
And we saw this in the presidential election. People didn't vote for him because they hated him. Like, sometimes you have to look past the original
or what's right in front of you and see the potential that's behind it. That's where we are. I think it would be phenomenal on our app to have people from a variety of different viewpoints. Why not? Why wouldn't I be able to have somebody? Wouldn't it be great to find an LGBTQ person who was conservative, maybe not completely, or was independent, and could be like, these are the things that our community is thinking about.
Yeah.
This is what we think is reasonable. I love that. Anybody who's not off the walls, bonkers, extreme, I think you should have a voice.
Right. You want to build a platform for everyone.
Why not?
Not just conservatives. And maybe no one comes and listens to that show, but whatever. That's the platform that you're given. And this guy totally just, instead of embracing it, he's, instead of saying to Wendy Bell, wow, you're giving me a platform, which is going to be a national platform.
You guys, we've had 25 million video views since May, right? So to say to this individual, come on my show, I'll give you a segment once a week. You can come up with the things, we can talk about what you want to discuss, but I want to hear your perspective. Let me ask you, you can ask me, let's have a conversation. And for that person to just say, nope, I could never do that, means, you know what? You might find out that everything that you think you dislike is farcical.
Well, he's going to get it from his friends who are obviously left, and he's going to get it from, why would you even talk to her? And his opinion of you is going to have to change. And that's part of the problem. Not that you necessarily care if it changes, but
I don't disagree with you.
I don't know. They don't hand out opportunities to conservatives. They take them away. And offering him an opportunity.
There you go. Brock and I were just talking in the break, and it really is so true. Conservatives don't often get offered opportunities to have a platform. We get deplatformed. We get shut down. We try to pay attention to the analytics of what we do social media wise and also on our app. It is completely not feasible for a program such as this, which for 2 years has been pretty consistent in its messaging, in its delivery, in its predictability of being here, to one day receive 120,000 views and another day to receive 48,000. We are routinely shut down, blocked, banned. We're removed from people's notifications. They unfollow us even though they didn't. So when we say as conservatives, we believe in the power and in the purpose of good conversation. We believe that all people have an opinion, as though we feel the same way about freedom. Your freedom is not contingent upon how you vote. You're an American. You have certain inalienable rights, or so we used to believe. To say to somebody with an opposing viewpoint, I find you fascinating, kind of like E.T., right? Here, take this Skittle and come over here. I want to talk to you. We've become so alienated from each other, if you will. To say to somebody, hey, let's sit down, let's talk. I would love to do that. How hard do you think it will be for me to find a well-spoken, open-minded, passionate person on the opposing viewpoint side of things on the left who can sit down and logically have a conversation with me. I invite that individual to step forward, preferably somebody with some semblance of experience in the journalistic realm, because you can't just, what'd you say?
If it's purely a radio audio thing that they need to learn, I'll teach them.
Right.
I'll teach them.
This is how serious we are, you know, because nobody else is doing this. Nobody else is saying, let's have people sit down. You know, Fox News pretends they do that by having somebody like, what's his name? Juan Williams, right? Who's just, I don't mind him, but I find his point of view to be noxious. It's not reasonable many times. He's angry. You can tell he's angry. So, you know, just because you have Donna Brazil on your panel does not make you diverse. We actually have to have that conversation. Why did it stop? Did it honestly stop because of one man who did what nobody thought he could do, because nobody was paying attention to that middle, to America's heartbeat that was tired of politics as usual, that was tired of Beltway BS, that was tired of elite Washington folks ruling with a magic wand? That's how out of touch they were. Is it really possible that the election of Donald Trump has set us back so many years in terms of just modern civility, of being able to sit down and look at each other and be like, all right, we disagree, but I'm sure there's a lot we actually agree upon. That's the middle, ladies and gentlemen. That's not the fringe. That is the middle. And it's very interesting. So much of what we're going to talk about coming up in the next couple hours, the audio sound bites we have. Terry McAuliffe running for governor of Virginia. How out of touch could he be? Former Kansas Governor Kathleen Sebelius likening unvaccinated individuals to secondhand smoke. You don't have a right to put her in danger, she says. Are they stupid? Are they that out of touch? Are they tone deaf? Or are they deluded by their own desire to be relevant? You're going to hear it every single step of the way. To me, some of the most offensive is listening to yesterday's developments in the Senate intelligence hearings. The generals, the defense secretary, out of touch, more interested in how many people like them and how many reporters write positive stories about them than protecting U.S. troops and our allies in Afghanistan. And by the way, here's the $50 million question. How long did you know after that drone strike hit and killed people who were innocent that you'd missed the target? Unbelievable answers. I have it all for you and the BS board, which is next on the Wendy Bell radio program.
You just want my searching for it. I'm a pretty good teacher too. So I think if I could work with some, I know a guy. He's not completely left. He's political science in college. He's well spoken, Indian descent. College student, young.
I want somebody who's been around and lived a little bit.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Although you tell me age isn't a mindset.
Well, though in your defense, I also have really great conversations with my oldest son, Michael. And he's able to deduce a lot more than I give a 21-year-old credit for absorbing. It's just the blinders and the short-sighted mentality of conversation anymore is just, this is where we are.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And like it has, and the problem is you just can't have anyone with an opinion because it does have to be listenable.
Right.
It does have to be no shouting. Understand that I have an opinion and you have an opinion.
And they're both valuable. And I am not going to criticize somebody's opinion. See, that's the difference.
Christina, Brock, just bring him on. That's not how it works. He would need coached. If it's a segment, if it's a constant thing, he's going to need to learn how to do radio. This isn't something you just do. A lot of these guests are, you get a politician knows how to speak in sound bites. They understand timing. And for something to truly be, you don't want to get lost in the weeds because you only have so much time. So when you have segments, someone has to be on point. And you have to be able to make your point. Monologues just don't happen. They get whittled down from here to here. So you get to your point. So it's listenable. This just isn't something you just do. You learn how to do this.
Unless you're me.
And then you don't learn in college.
And then you just make it up.
Well, you learn not to hang up on people and...
I did that once.
What did I say? I love you for how you responded. So, quick behind the scenes story. Wendy hangs up on a caller at one of the radio stations we were at.
He was a malignant son of a gun.
Was.
Holy moly.
So, I immediately go to commercial break and I say, come in here. She walks in. I'm like, don't ever do that again. And she's like, what? I'm like, don't ever do that again. If you hang up on them, you're the one that ends the conversation. Yeah. I said, you hang up on them. If you do it by accident because you're frustrated, look at me and just say, Brock, why did you hang up on them? And blame me. Because it's okay if you guys are mad at me.
Right.
You don't come from
I think it's very defeating as a caller to have a point to make, even if you're off the wall, to have somebody just kibosh your opinion.
The beautiful thing was the next caller, what does she do? She started to get frustrated and she hangs up on him. And then my jaw drops like, I literally just told you. She goes, Brock, why'd you do that? Why'd you hang up on him? I was talking to him. Not 5 minutes later, that guy called my phone and dropped the F-bomb multiple times on me saying, who do I think I am? Yeah, I shouldn't be hanging up on people. I said, I'm the producer. I can do whatever I want. I mean, it's just diffusing the anger. Like, that's part of the job. Like,
some people would call in and they just were off the walls.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, sir, please, sir, I'm going to tell you, if I have to tell you again, I mean, like literally I'm bringing down their volume because they're going nutty and they're not hearing anything. And at some point, I'm not hanging up on you because I disagree with you. I'm hanging up on you because you don't understand the rules of engagement.
Do you remember the time that I pulled the volume down on someone and you finished the segment and I'm like, hey,
they were in the commercial break. They were still talking.
I put them in queue so I could hear them without them being on the air.
That happened often.
And they were still talking.
For 5 minutes. Just never coming up for air. And we're like, wow. But that person didn't know that they were off the air. No. I'm sure they felt like that was, they were very important.
They immediately hung up and called their friends and said, I just told Wendy Bell.
We're going to start with clip 10.
Okay. Here we go.
Wow, that's really loud. Unnecessary.
Just whistle. That's loud?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
You know, the problem with lying is that there at some point is a point of no return where you've lied so many times that the person to whom you're lying knows that you're a liar and doesn't believe anything you say. Now, when I was a little girl, I thought I was a tremendously gifted liar. I'm terrible. Okay. I'm the liar who's nervous, who like looks around, you know, shuffles her feet. I'm a terrible liar. And there's that phase in life that all kids go through. There's the I'm going to cry every day about something irrelevant that happens until about 9 or 10 years old. They graduate from that into, you know, pushing the envelope and lying. Everybody does it. And I did it. I was just a poor executor of it. I understand what it's like to lose somebody's belief or trust. Because I remember my mom and dad, it was like 2 years. And it's like, but I'm not lying. Well, we can't believe you because you've lied to us so many times. Oh, it's the worst, right? Well, when it's the government and the government lies because the government only knows that way of business, lying, and the American people are so tired of the lies that they vote out that lying government and bring in somebody new, only to have that person overthrown by a lie. You've got a lot of really angry, distrusting people. So this whole idea that Joe Biden et al. Are baffled why aren't they doing what we're saying? Why aren't they getting this back? Why aren't they acquiescing? Well, there's a reason. We don't trust you. You've lied so many times, it's not even funny. So that brings me to the BS board behind us. You know, it's one thing to lie about health issues. That's tragic. It's another thing to lie about your ability to provide for your family and to keep a reasonable share of the money you get up every day to earn. I want to harken back to 1988. These famous words.
Read my lips. No new taxes. Read my lips. No new taxes.
You know, history does have this crazy way of repeating itself. And this is the path that we're on right now because clip number 11, Jen Psaki, she doesn't seem to have learned from history back in 1988. Go.
We're right in the weeds of it now on what the size of the package looks like. But I will also note, and we've done this a little bit over the past couple of days, but that this package, the reconciliation package, would cost $0.
This reconciliation package would cost $0. Number 14, Nancy Pelosi seems to echo, it's like they've got the same talking points.
It's not about a dollar amount. The dollar amount, as the president said, is zero. This bill will be paid for. It's about what are the values that we share and how we prioritize them. And that is the place that we will go.
$0. The values, it's not about the dollar amount, she says. Oh, it's always about the dollar amount. Everything you do in your life comes with a price tag. How much are you willing to pay for this product or service? How much money are you paid for what you do? How do you reconcile those finances when bills come to be paid? Are you able to buy that car? Can you afford braces for your kids? Nancy Pelosi has been living on her multi-million-dollar, throne for far too long. And clearly, lying is so baked into the fabric of her skin and her whatever, that this is what she says. It's about shared values. There you go. That's the feelings of the left. It's not the facts that what we want to propose is going to absolutely destroy the middle class and small business. Shh, we're not going to talk about that. This is the good thing to do. Look at this humanitarian crisis at the border. Never mind how untenable it is to pay for all these people to come in, right? Don't worry about that. It's not about the dollars. It's about the feeling. Feel like you're doing something. Yeah. Well, I direct you to the board, and I'm going to ask you how your feelings are liking these facts, because what this administration is doing is marching us ever closer to socialism. It's just not deniable. And anybody out there, and I know there are Biden supporters out there who enjoy this program, and we're delighted to have you along. You voted for this. Don't forget this. The economics of socialism. Yes, read my lips. This is what they said. We will be quoting this in 2022 at the midterms during all the campaign ads. Because if this jazz all goes through, boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, every single aspect of your life is going to be more expensive. It already is. Let's talk about this. We've got $2.3 trillion in the American Jobs Plan. If you're looking on the stream on the Wendy Bell Radio Network app, which is free for download, look at those zeros. It's almost like Fantasyland. We're playing Monopoly right now, okay? $2.3 trillion American Jobs Plan. You know, we need to pay everybody $15 an hour. You guys do the math on that. How many businesses can't survive that? And the costs get passed on to you, the consumer. You just filled up for some gas. What'd you pay versus what'd you pay in January? Then you've got the $1.8 trillion American Families Plan. They wrap it up in like these words that like lollipops and rainbows. We've got the $1.8 trillion Puppy Plan. This one is going to provide what? A lot of free crap for people who need to probably get out and get a job or pay their fair share of their college tuition. How about the $1 trillion infrastructure plan? But this is what they say. Government spends money. Well, this is what I say, because they're telling you there's no dollars that you're going to pay more than this. This is all going to cancel itself out, they say, right? We're going to take money over here. It's a shell game. You're not going to lose. Trust us. We've never lied to you before. So here's how the cycle of insanity actually works. The government spends money to the tune of almost $6 trillion that it does not have. It proceeds to lie to you by promising no new tax increases. Then the Federal Reserve monetizes the deficit by printing money, and therefore the value of the dollar goes into the toilet, which is why people bought gold. Then taxes go up. What? I thought you said, well, we had no choice. I mean, we wanted to make it work, but it didn't all balance out. Right. And then they say to you in 2022 and 2024, hey, please vote for us again, because we're all about you guys and your feelings. Well, the facts show here, ladies and gentlemen, that this doesn't work. Okay? Drunken sailors spending money they don't have, putting you on the bill. Okay? The We Lie plan is better like it. And it's to screw all Americans. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Interesting report. Federal analysis shows Democrat tax bill will break Biden's promise to not raise middle-class taxes. A report from Congress's nonpartisan scorekeeper for tax policy reveals that the Democrats' pending tax bill will raise taxes on the middle class, breaking one of President Biden's key campaign promises. What was that soundbite from 1988 again that cost George H.W. Bush re-election? I forgot.
My lips. No new taxes.
What a guy. Yeah, he lied too. The $2.9 trillion tax hike would raise the income tax, the corporate tax, and income tax in order to fund the Democrats' pending $3.5 trillion social welfare bill. Don't take my word for it. This is issued by the Joint Committee on Taxation. 5 members from the House Ways and Means Committee, 5 members from the Senate Finance Committee, confirming that in the long run, over 85% of taxpayers will witness a meaningful tax increase or receive no benefit whatsoever from the Democrats' tax bill. How does that break down into your economic echelons? This is a complete hosing of the middle class, guys. 9% of the people who earn between $50,000 and $75,000 are going to get zinged by 2023. 18% who earn 75% to $100,000. You make between $100,000 and $200,000, 35%, and more than half, 59%, who earn $200,000 to $500,000 a year. These taxpayers of virtually every income level will see substantial tax hikes. Period. By 2031, over 3/4 of taxpayers earning between $100,000 and $200,000 will see higher tax expenses. But remember, Joe Biden had said something not that long ago that I think is important. Cut number 12. Remember, it really all boils down to this.
It's about time working people got the tax breaks in this country. That's what my plan does. And here's what it also does. By asking big corporations and the very wealthy to pay their fair share, it makes it possible to invest in America, to invest in the American people.
Wow. It sounds so warm and fuzzy, doesn't it? We're going to invest in the American people. Oh my gosh. It's going to feel so good as we all go bankrupt. We're just going to help so many people. They're all from South America or from Haiti, but we're going to feel so good when those refugees come over on the planes and we get them in all over the place from Afghanistan. You're going to feel broke, but oh my, it's just going to be outstanding. I will remind you that Joe and Jill Biden, who made $13 million in 2017, didn't pay their fair share. Apparently, and I hope this isn't fuzzy math because it is for his accountant. If you pay a 3.8% tax rate in their S corporation endeavors, when $13 million, that's $494,000 in back taxes. I hope he takes out his checkbook because that's his fair share. I do want to cash in on that 3.8% tax rate. Doesn't that sound good? I'd like that because I'm not there. This is what they're selling. We're going to have to tax corporations. They've been getting away with murder for years. It's all about you little people. We're for you, the little people. No, they're not. This screws the middle class. Everything's going to get more expensive. And anybody who tells you otherwise is selling you something that you can't afford to buy anymore. If you've ever had a concussion or you know somebody who suffered a bump to the head, a traumatic brain injury, an accident or a sporting injury, and you've watched them suffer with the effects, you can feel like there is no hope. And that's one of the most desperate feelings. But there is hope. And there's hope not just to heal the symptoms so that you're feeling normal again, but how about healing the brain? That's what Dr. Charles Simkovich from the Simkovich Concussion Institute does. It's non-surgical. What he does with his hands. Revolutionary procedure. Make that appointment. It costs you nothing to call and do that. 412-366-3700. SimkovichConcussionInstitute.com. Most people see results in less than a week. He's the real deal. When we come back, how about this little one they floated by? I know you guys are seeing the taxes on your gas. What did I pay yesterday? $3.35 a gallon. I was paying $2.60 when Donald Trump left office, okay? It's just the cost of doing business with the Democrats, apparently. But wait, how about the tax floated on your mileage? Are you kidding me? We'll walk you through it coming up on the Wendy Bell radio program.
going back to you not winning Jag off of the year.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh. Oh, I must be one of those 1%ers. Oh. Oh. No, I think I didn't win because they knew I wanted to. And so allowing me to win would give me a victory and you an honorable mention, which is really what you wanted. Admit it. I was going to get you a plaque. Right? I can hear you. Do you want me to hear if it's coming through here? Nope. No, it's talk. Yeah. It wasn't plugged in all the way. See, you gotta love our listeners. You guys let us know the shizzle. How's that, guys?
You probably hear me now.
Does Wendy save the day again?
It's the keep it simple, stupid method, you know?
I usually go blow on it.
It's like if it's
That'll
American
help.
made, what do? Tap it and see if it works.
Is there anything in there?
You call the IT guy. Hey, my computer's working. Turn it off, count to 10, turn it back on.
Worst $75 that I ever paid was having an electrician come to my house and tell me why the powder room lights weren't working. It was one of those GFI buttons.
Wow.
Those stupid little, right? It was behind the towel.
I could have told you that.
And I didn't know. And the guy's like, I'm sorry, I got to charge you $75. I'm
just for showing up.
To push a button.
Now you know, and knowing's half the battle.
Hey, man, I'll never make that mistake again. In today's That's Rich column, national mileage tax pilot tucked away in Biden's 2,700-page infrastructure bill. Like, I don't mean to be dense here, but when I think infrastructure, I think bridges. I think our highway system. I think structural things I would think replacing old, 150-year-old plumbing lines. Yes. Updating an electrical grid, something of that nature. How about getting Flint, Michigan some water that they can freaking drink? That might be an infrastructure deal. Not free childcare, not $200 million for Nancy Pelosi's Silicon Valley, slush fund for friends, not money for, the Capitol staffers to have free childcare as they go to work. But this is where we are. This is rich, you guys. The U.S. House of Representatives may soon vote on a $1 trillion, 2,700-page infrastructure bill that includes funding for roads and bridges, public transit, airports, waterways, and more. But buried on page 508, why is this thing 500 pages? Brevity is the soul of wit. Anything that can stack from here to me is called fraudulent on purpose, and why there are too many lawyers in this country. Tucked away on page 508 is a national motor vehicle per mile user fee pilot. So let me get this straight. We're gonna check out this plan, all right? See, taxes are never gonna go up. It's a zero-sum, nothing to see here. But meanwhile, we're gonna do a little investigation. Every year when you go to renew your license or get your new registration for your car, which is required by law, you have an odometer check. The odometer check is going to show us how many miles you drove. And if you drove a lot of miles or whatever your mileage is, you're going to be taxed on top of that per mile. Don't worry about the exorbitant taxes you pay to travel the turnpike. Don't worry through the nose your gas tax or how they manage to get up your skirt with the rental car tax, right? No. We need more ways to take your money. So look it over here. No new taxes. Nothing to see. Is there a reason that bacon costs $7 a pound? You guys been noticing this? Supply chain shortages. Word is that there's going to be another rush on toilet paper. I guess a lot of people are worried about diarrheal issues. Hurry up. Get your toilet paper. Get your tissues. Or is this just all part of the new America? We're going to bloat government so it's super big. It's completely bankrupt. You make nothing. Everything gets harder and harder to find so that you too have to be on the take with your handout for the government to give you what you rightfully earned that they confiscated from you. Little crumbs. That is called the economics of socialism. It is the steady and silent redistribution of wealth, all wrapped into a giant lie. In your face lie, spread not only by the President of the United States as liar in chief, but by Jen Psaki, liar propagandist in chief, and Nancy Pelosi, who just needs to retire and go away. Just go away. Can you fathom what this is going to do to you if this you don't do a pilot program, ladies and gentlemen. This is the test run for how it's going to work out. This isn't an investigative feeling. Yeah, I'm thinking we should look into this. No, this is if we do it this way, can we be sneaky? So for the average person who puts 13,000 miles on their car every year, that's about $1,000 in new taxes. And you were upset that the $44 it cost for your 1 year of re-registration. What are you going to do when the DMV or when the state says to you, sorry, it's another $1,000? Really? But don't worry, they're not going to raise your taxes. Zero sum. Everything's going to work itself out. That they even say that to us is offensive. That's predicated on the idea that you're too dumb to know better. But this is Washington. This is the way of liars. It's all they know. Lie, lie, lie. And by the way, won't you vote for me? No. All right, don't go anywhere. When we come back, some sound. Matt Gaetz on fire yesterday. Mark Milley in the hot seat. And Lloyd Austin just not looking very good. And we'll tell you why coming up next on the Wendy Bell radio program.
Did you take a picture? Okay. Seeing guys on the stream saying that you lost friends in the LTGB community because of who you voted for. It's no different than losing friends. See, this is where, to me, this is why there's no difference between people. Because if you're in the gay community and you lost friends in the gay community because of who you voted for, it's not about your sexuality. That's proof right there. Logic tells you it's not about sexuality. It's about who you vote for. Because if I'm straight and lost a friend in the gay community because of who I voted for, or I'm gay and I lost a friend in the gay community because of who I voted for, there's no difference. This has nothing to do with your sexuality, which most people don't care about. But then again, can't argue logic with irrationality. It's unfortunate. It really is. We have to define everybody but one thing in a box. You're gay, you're straight, you're Republican, you're Democrat, you're I mean, pick a side. You're pro-life, you're pro-choice. You're not allowed to be both, you know? It's ridiculous. And if you are part of I know Ryan has commented on here that he lost friends and it's taken a lot of heat. I may start a podcast that brings people on the other side outside of the show. So you all know my email address. Or my Facebook page is pretty out there. WBRBrock at Gmail. I was saying that we have people on the stream that says that is part of the gay community, and they said that they lost friends over it because of who they voted for. And I said, that's just, from a logical perspective, that's just proof that it has nothing to do with sexuality.
Yeah, that's just a crying shame.
You know, and I'm not for the people who say, like, people who don't talk to me because I vote Republican or work with you, that they weren't friends to begin with. I don't believe that to be true, because the person I'm thinking of, he and I had terrific conversations for hours on end, and we are politically different. There was no yelling, no screaming. To me, it's just, I'm not trying to poach listeners. It's just the inability to talk. And I believe he was a friend.
I don't know who you're talking about.
You do. You can't remember off the top of your head.
Well, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's just tough.
You know, and family's no different. We both have it.
Yep.
You know,
people have to make a choice. And if their choice is to throw away what they've known about me for years.
Wow, Connie. I put Connie to sleep. You need a new partner.
Wow. Are you that boring?
I guess.
Why don't you work on that tomorrow on the golf course?
I will. I'll be sure to go home and practice, because that seems to be what's needed.
Yeah, and that whole thing about, there's a rising log cabin movement, the log cabin Republicans, gay Republicans, right, in literally an underground situation, because they risk ridicule from the LGBTQ community, which, mind you, is supposed to be all encompassing and inclusive and warm and fuzzy. And we don't judge unless you vote for Trump. I mean, that literally is where it is. And that's, unfortunately, this has just unveiled the scam and the sham of so many people's mantras that, we're so persecuted, but when we persecute you, it's okay because we're gay. Okay.
I don't think it's necessarily that. I think it goes to show that we haven't talked politics until recently.
Yeah, I know. I've known the friends of mine who are gay who asked me to officiate their wedding. I got a degree, like a certificate. I took an online class.
A whole certificate.
I got a certificate. I took it so seriously. I was deeply honored. Don't talk to me anymore. I've known for years that they're liberal. I've heard them at their parties. All they talk about is liberal stuff and bash, bash, bash. And I would just weave my way through the party and find somebody else until I stopped going to the parties and said, stop inviting me, because, I have conflicts. I never said why. It's just, I never judged them. Like, I just don't want to be a part of it. Whatever. If that's what you guys want to talk about, don't invite me. So now when I do this for a living and you don't have to pay attention to it, they dislike me. Okay. Make sure you've got that "all lives are welcome here" sign in your yard.
Well,
that's the real shame of it.
That's the shame of it.
That's the shame of it.
The
people
facade.
People I really liked. And
you know what?
If they got into a jam, I would still help to this day. I would just be like, well, you're a liberal. I've known you were a liberal.
It's like
so what?
It's like the beautiful house. And then you open the door and it's all tore up inside.
That'd be torn. It's all right. You can speak. Torn.
See, that's how you know the shirt is fake news.
Hey, man.
Because she's not silently correcting my grammar.
Let's start with that first Mackenzie. Who is it who's talking to him?
What's the number?
You just pulled it. It was the most recent one you pulled this morning. Trent.
15. Okay. Don't do that with 10 seconds left.
I don't know. Is Trent Kelly he's not a senator.
Give me a second to get to it.
Is he a senator or a congressman?
I don't know. Congressman, I think.
Are they saying let's go to the party? That's what I think they're saying, right?
Yes, they are.
There's that let's go to the party. Okay.
And for you that don't know, that's just keeping that in there is a way for Wendy to know that's when she can start talking.
We need to give our affiliates time to get back on track with us. And so we've got these placeholders. See, I believe that you deserve all real news. In a world of fakery, you deserve the truth. And that is what we deliver here at Wendy Bell Radio. Great to have you guys along for the ride. Oh, the grilling continued yesterday as the Joint Chiefs Chairman, General Mark Milley, the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, who might just be the Mike Pence of the Defense Department. Central casting, right? So we're going to shoot this movie, and we need somebody who seems vice presidential. That'd be Mike Pence. Got it. Perfect. Now we need somebody who doesn't really answer any questions, but, talks slowly so that everybody wants to kill themselves. That'd be Lloyd Austin. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Got it. So how about this headline? And this, I got to thank Congressman Trent Kelly for this. Asking questions in this intelligence briefing a month after U.S. servicemen and women were killed in Afghanistan, weeks after a retaliatory drone strike didn't strike its target, didn't in fact take out 2 high-level ISIS-K operatives, which I believe everybody, because we've been lied to so dang much, could smell a mile away. Finally, these Pentagon top brass, really important men in the military are finally sitting down, decked out, wearing their uniforms, all of their whatever's on their shoulders. I'm sure lots of them well-earned. Answer questions. General McKenzie says military knew within hours that Kabul drone strike, quote, hit civilians. I want you to listen to this exchange. This very matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, I am not in the military. I am not from a military family. I have great respect for what military men and women and generations of veterans have done for this country and for this world. I am not going to sit here and second guess decisions that were made. However, the lack of quote unquote transparency and accountability to me is what should definitely be on trial. And that's what this is. Listen to this.
At what point, General McKenzie, and this is for all three of you, at what point did you know that the strike was bad, that it hit civilians?
Well, so we knew the strike hit civilians within 4 or 5 hours after the strike occurred, and U.S. Central Command released a press release to saying that. We did not know, though, that the target of the strike was in fact an error a mistake until sometime later. It took us a few days to run that down.
Okay.
But we knew pretty soon after the strike.
Good deal. Secretary Austin, when did you know it was a bad strike that killed civilians?
As soon as General McKenzie reported that there were civilians that had been injured, and of course,
so 4 or 5 hours time frame. That's all I need.
right. Typically, as soon as that happens, we investigate. We begin an investigation.
When did you know that civilians were killed in that strike? That's my question. It's real easy. It's a time. It's not a. It doesn't take much to answer that.
Right. Several hours after that.
Okay. This General Milley,
Same thing.
Okay.
They knew within hours. We knew, quote, we knew the strike hit civilians within 4 or 5 hours after the strike occurred, and U.S. Central Command released a press release saying that. McKenzie said. General Kenneth McKenzie said. CENTCOM commander. Okay? Several hours. Then he continues by saying, we did not know, though, that the target of the strike was in fact a mistake until some time later. It took us a few days to run that down. Ladies and gentlemen, those things are not congruous. We knew the strike killed civilians within 4 or 5 hours. We didn't know that the target of the strike was a mistake until several days later. Unless the target was civilians, you knew immediately that you blew it. So Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, knowing that he was going to risk his career in the Marine Corps, knowing that he was going to forfeit any kind of compensation for his future, for his wife, himself, their 3 young sons, knowing that that was going to be forfeited by taking a video and saying, where is the accountability? He loses all of that and is sitting in a jail cell while these 3 men say, yeah, we knew. And yet none of this word came out for weeks. Do you really believe that the people who boarded all of those planes in a haphazard, frenzied attempt to get out of Afghanistan so Joe Biden could say he did it by a certain deadline? Do you believe that this military, your State Department, your Department of Homeland Security is actually vetting these individuals? That they know who these people are, who they're just allowing willy-nilly into the country, when you have leaders at the very top of the military food chain who very matter-of-factly say, yeah, we know we killed friendlies within a couple of hours. We sent out a press release. Well, it's funny, that press release didn't really get out there, did it? So who sat on the press release? And where is said press release? Does Jen Psaki have it? Because we didn't get that briefing. Matt Gaetz, though, and some of this makes me uncomfortable, but I think this is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. We have too many people in the Beltway, in positions of perceived power who do have it, because they can say it's time for war. And the young men and women who serve our country end up being the collateral damage of decisions that one might say aren't always the best. We have people in Washington who believe that they're beyond and above reproach. Don't trifle with me. I'm a general. I want you to go sequence to sequence here. Brock, we're going to do cut 1. This is Gaetz, Matt Gaetz from Florida, congressman from Florida, talking about General Mark Milley and his priorities. Evacuating Americans, protecting American servicemen and women, or helping Bob Woodward write a book. You decide.
February 26, 2020, House Armed Services Committee, General Mark Milley
We know we're not going to defeat the Taliban militarily, and they're not going to defeat the government of Afghanistan militarily. You really blew that call, didn't you, General?
I believe that that was a issue of strategic stalemate, and that if we had remained in Afghanistan with the advisory levels of effort, then the government of Afghanistan.
Well, that's an interesting
Afghan
answer to a
security
question. It's
forces-
just not one I asked. You spent more time with Bob Woodward on this book than you spent analyzing the very likely prospect that the Afghanistan government was going to fall immediately to the Taliban, didn't you?
Not even close, Congressman.
That's number one. You're more interested in your reputation, in your Facebook likes, he is suggesting, because that's all we have to go on, General. We're not seeing a whole lot of transparency here. You guys knew in 4 or 5 hours. How long in advance of that suicide bombing at the Abbey Gates, where those 13 U.S. servicemen and women died? How well in advance did you know about that threat? Because we have intelligence that it was a full 24 hours. What were you doing then, General? Or were you deeply entrenched with Bob Woodward and trying to spill secrets about Donald Trump being unhinged? Cut number 2. Go.
Austin, are you capable of assessing whether another has the will to fight?
No, we're not. And that's the point that the chairman made earlier. So.
That's just like an incredibly disappointing thing for the Secretary of Defense to simply say, I can't assess whether someone has the will to fight, but it is consistent with your record.
Secretary Austin, do you know if the Taliban fighters that you guys were allegedly training for 20 years, where we spent trillions of dollars and left 80-odd billions of dollars in equipment behind so the Taliban could basically grab it? Do you know if you could assess whether or not those people, those Afghan soldiers, really had the will to fight? No. No, we didn't. We couldn't. What are they doing? What have they been doing? What have we been paying for? Besides a failure. The Gold Star families, 2,000 of them, who now go to the graveyard to see the dash on their son or daughter's headstone. Born, died, dash. The time in between dates. The lost opportunity. The dash they don't get back. Failing upwards. This is what we do in America. No accountability. And we're just getting started, ladies and gentlemen. You know, when you have a hospital bill and you need to pay it, thanks to Obamacare, oftentimes your deductible or your copay portion of that bill is greater than your insurance companies that you pay a heck of a lot of money for. This is where this product Deductible Buster comes in. This is outstanding. If you have individual or group insurance, you might qualify for Deductible Buster, which could make it so that your hospital bill is paid in full by your insurance. Deductible Buster can have make what you have work better. Visit this website, deductiblebuster.com. View the simple videos, kinds of walks you through the process. You can figure out if it's for you. Ask for a no obligation quote. Deductiblebuster.com, making health insurance work better. Well, when we come back, Matt Gaetz isn't done yet. He says what I think a vast majority of Americans are thinking. We're not here to blow sunshine, generals. We want answers, and America demands more. We'll get to that next on the Wendy Bell radio program. This is a great time for me to tell you guys about my friends at Ireland Contracting. You know what? This is the time to call Ireland Contracting. If you live in southwestern Pennsylvania or in eastern Ohio and you've been thinking about a home renovation project, get on their books now at Ireland Contracting, because it's getting harder and harder to get people to show up and do a job, just let alone give you a quote. That's not how Ireland contracting works, though. They answer the phone and they show up. Diane and Gary Ireland have been doing this for 30 years. Home exterior renovation. Anything on the outside of your house, they do it. And they're fantastic at it. They stand by what they do. And their Amish installers are among the best craftsmen in the business. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Angie's listed Guild quality. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF or go to IrelandContracting.com. Get on Gary's schedule now because I'm sure they're getting slammed. They're awesome. So the audio's okay on your end over there? What's wrong?
What?
Oh, you okay? You're okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, just I have to make sure things fire at specific times.
Yeah, I got you. How do you know within 4 or 5 hours and then not know until several days later that you... If you know you hit civilians...
Do you believe them?
But I mean, if you know that you hit civilians immediately in the big scheme of time, but then you say, but it took several days to find out. Well, no, those things don't work together. You either knew or you didn't. And all of them said they knew.
Probably no phone calls today, Doris, because...
Unless we want to do 11 o'clock and have people call in and then do read ones too. We could do that. We'll see how we get through all of this stuff.
We still need to... Let's do the apps working. We still need to do the Sebelius.
Mm-hmm.
Overseer. I truly don't trust anything that comes out of any of their mouths anymore. If you don't know, if you're shooting, here's the kicker, right? If you're shooting and you don't even know what you're shooting at,
what are you doing?
Why are you pulling the trigger?
And who gives the go for that? And they asked, is that Biden? Did he say go? And they said no. It's a military operation.
Yeah.
Like, I'd kind of want to know.
The only thing I know for fact is they passed the buck better than anyone.
Right.
You know, Lloyd Austin.
Call the Department of Defense. No. Call the, Secretary of State. No. Department of Homeland Security. No.
Yeah, I don't trust any of them. I think they're all lying to cover their own butt so they can write a book when they finally either resign, get kicked out, or process out. I think, as conservatives or people who just looking for the truth, the best thing you can do is not buy the book.
Yeah.
Don't buy into it. Marry Trump. MSNBC has her on like she's she's knowledgeable about everything Donald Trump. I don't care what she thinks about anything else. I didn't read the book. Don't care about the book.
Well, it's like the freaking newspaper we talked about, the free newspaper.
Yeah.
Making, stories about me where they extrapolate things that I say on this program, but have never once called me to interview me about what I think. They just assume.
Yeah.
Extrapolate and plug in. That's called fake news and lousy journalism, and that's America today. All right, let's get back out to the House Armed Services Committee. This is where Congressman Matt Gaetz is questioning all three of the big wigs from the Pentagon, McKenzie, Milley, Austin. Let's proceed with clip number 3. Go.
So what confidence should this committee have in you, or should the country have in you, when you've now confessed to us, and whether it's the swing and a miss in Afghanistan that General Milley talked to the Senate about yesterday, total failure, or whether it was your failures in Syria, you don't seem capable to look at a fighting force and determine whether or not they have the will.
That the end result was the SDF that we stood up that was very, very instrumental in turning the tide of battle up in Syria.
Oh, yeah. Turned it so much. You've got Assad in power in Syria. You got the Taliban in power in Afghanistan. I mean, where have you been?
The focus was ISIS, Congressman. And those forces had significant effect on the ISIS network.
It just seems like you're chronically bad at this, and you have admitted that, I guess, which is to your credit.
There you go. That is your Secretary of Defense. That is the best of the best in our military. Okay? Gaetz continues, clip 4, there's no accountability. I just said this, and he underscores it. Go.
When people in the military, like Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, stand up and demand accountability, when they say that you all screwed up, when they point out that General Milley's statement that that the government of Afghanistan is not going to get defeated by the Taliban, well, he ends up in the brig. And you all end up in front of us, and your former employer, Raytheon, ends up with a lot of money, and we have poured cash and blood and credibility into a Ghani government that was a mirage. It fell immediately. And while the guy sitting next to you was off, talking to Phil Rucker and was off doing his thing with Bob Woodward, we were buying into the big lie. The big lie that this was ever going to be successful and that we could ever rely on the Afghanistan government for anything at all.
Truth. And the final, I believe, nail here, the end result, and sadly, is the result that will never happen because government is meant to be dysfunctional and to protect its own. Clip 5.
Joe Milley, you kind of gave up the game earlier when you said you wanted to address elements of your personal conduct that were in question. We're not questioning your personal conduct. We're questioning in your official capacity going and undermining the chain of command, which is obviously what you did. You've created this whole chain of communication narrative.
Did not undermine the chain of command in
yeah,
any manner,
you did.
shape, or form.
You absolutely did. And it
did not.
Well, you know what? You said yesterday that you weren't going to resign when senators asked you this question. And I believe that you guys probably won't resign. You seem to be very happy failing up over there. But if we didn't have a president that was so addled, you all would be fired, because that is what you deserve. You have let down the people who wear the uniform in my district and all around this country.
I wonder, what is the message in Afghanistan to the family that lost all those people from that drone strike? That for no reason, say for bad intelligence, or people failing at their jobs, or people being in jobs they shouldn't be in, those kinds of mistakes cannot happen. And if they do happen, which is horrifying, there needs to be accountability. That those men sit there and answer just matter-of-factly, yeah, well, we thought it was going to be, we thought the Taliban, or we thought the Afghan government was going to survive longer than it did. I guess we were wrong. These are the people in charge of our defense, of our security. And Matt Gaetz has every right to be as infuriated as he is. And that the people in that committee room on the left side of the aisle weren't equally as infuriated shows even further how deeply entrenched we are in our sides. The middle wants safety. The middle wants honesty. The middle wants to feel like their families are going to be safe. And unfortunately, 9 months in, ladies and gentlemen, how are you feeling? Feeling secure? Feeling confident? Feeling like the people in charge know what they're doing, and that if something happened, that they would be there to protect us and to do the right things the right way? I don't know about you. Kathleen Sebelius says if you're unvaccinated, you're like secondhand smoke. You're a danger, a risk, and you need to be snuffed out. You're listening to the Wendy Bell program.
Are you looking? We just going to go down in order?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that it's sequential, so it makes sense. Jim
Okay.
Acosta is a terrible TV host.
Who?
Jim Acosta.
Oh.
He's dreadful. If you're a TV host and you talk more than the person you're interviewing, you're terrible at your job. That was always my thing. When I was a TV news person and I was telling stories, I was never or very rarely in the story. I'm like, the story's not about me. I'm here to tell your story, right? And then there are those people who have to be in them or talk. He talked the whole time. He's a boob.
He is. He's only second to one.
Brian Stelter. He's just.
And Brian Stelter, only for the reason, Brian Stelter wouldn't be so bad if it was just his opinion, right? But he tries to come across as a newsman, and all he does is go after Fox News.
Yeah,
go after MSNBC, where Rachel Maddow spouts her lies, and then the male Rachel Maddow, I never remember his name, but he reminds me of her. He's just as bad.
You need to have better material.
Right.
If the other side, journalistically speaking, is your fodder, come up with things to talk about that are, that aren't reactive, that aren't knee-jerk reactions.
This is the beautiful thing what we're doing, though. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about. In big corporate media, sometimes you're told what to talk about.
Oh, you are sometimes?
I'm trying to be nice.
But no, in defense, though, we do respond to them as well. We like to debunk what they say.
Right.
So I can argue that I'm just as reactive as they are. But I don't think that if I was on, say, OAN or Right Side Broadcasting or Newsmax, that my particular segment would be, about the other station.
Right.
I want to be about what I'd want it to be about, which is to hopefully get people to pay attention to what I was doing.
Can I say this? Right Side Broadcasting needs to get their shit all together.
Why? They started, as the live feed for all of the rallies.
Don't get me wrong, I don't get
great.
It's just not cohesive. It's very choppy. It's like they tell the guy, okay, you're going to be done here. And there's an art to filling. You know this. When they turn the camera and says, we're breaking news and we're not taking a commercial break and you just have to keep talking, they need to get people in there who can just keep talking. And when you're on camera, don't go, you can see behind me.
I don't have that much of a problem with that. I think a lot of the stuff that they fill is hours long, waiting for somebody to show up for something.
Right. Well,
and
but that's called being prepared. He's going to be late.
Sure. I remember having to fill literally 3 hours when the 3 Pittsburgh police officers were called.
Oh.
And
I was the only one in the station when it happened.
I was in the studio by myself with a robotic camera, nobody inside, me and our chopper, which was flying above the hearse carrying one of the police officers to his cemetery. And I was like, does anybody want to come in here? Because I have to go to the bathroom.
How about when that happened? I was the only one in the station, me and my host. When Tree of Life happened, I was the only one in the station, me and my host. And I'm sitting there feeding them stuff, just feeding him stuff.
That's what you have to do. That's what I did on 9/11. I wasn't on the air for that. I was constantly behind the scenes finding out information and running it to the hosts, to the anchors. It's important.
And when you're talking, and Wendy, we talked about this before the show, when you're a producer and I have to talk in your ear, I don't like to, because you might miss something and look at me and I don't know what part you missed, but on your side, you're still trying to talk and have a cohesive thought.
Yeah, that takes years. Years of work.
Yes. I know people who were in the business for years and still couldn't.
Right.
They would literally stop and look at me. So, I mean, I got hand cramps from just writing things down and running them in,
At that point, what you do is you say, hey, Brock, sit here, put on a headset. Tell me what you guys are finding out.
Right. Well, at that place, that was not permitted.
God forbid a producer should have a speaking role.
You know what that came down to? That wasn't necessarily, that was all union.
Oh, yeah. Unions definitely have a place until they too become corrupted. Did I spill on myself? What the heck? Hot mess. Welcome back, everybody. You're tuned into the one and only Wendy Bell radio program. How about this tweet from November 2019? Joe Biden tweeting, "Our military deserves a commander-in-chief who ensures that they have what they need when we send them into harm's way. Donald Trump betrays this sacred obligation. By abandoning partners who risk everything to stand at our side, Trump makes every future mission harder for our troops." That didn't age well. That's not good, right? How about this? Do you guys hear about the National Guard? So you have all these healthcare workers to the tune of 70,000 of them ready to walk off the job. I don't know if they already have in New York State alone. National Guard apparently is going to be used to plug in those gaps. Kind of interesting. So nurses have until maybe tomorrow to get the vaccine. National Guard troops, though, they don't have to be vaccinated until June of 2022. Huh. That's odd. How about, let's see, active duty Army deadline? Look, ladies and gentlemen, when you're dealing with vaccinations and you're dealing with arguably the healthiest group of Americans, young, fit, yes. I'm going to ask you, out of the entire military, how many COVID deaths do you think there have been? Brock, tell me.
127.
46. 46, but quote, this is a direct quote from Lieutenant General Scott Dingle, the Army Surgeon General. I had to say Dingle. I don't know why, sorry. He says, quote, this is about mandatory vaccinations for everybody in the military. Quote, "This is quite literally a matter of life and death for our soldiers, their families, and the communities in which we live." Really? 46. So, active duty Army, the deadline to get vaccinated to December 15th. Guard Airmen, December 2nd. Active duty Airmen, November 2nd. Active duty Marines and Navy, November 28th, and reservists right after Christmas, December 28th. But if you're a National Guard person, right, you're one of these soldiers and you're coming in to fill some gaps, don't worry about your vaccination. I mean, I won't let you float until next summer. We'll get you. We'll get you when we get you. Perfect. And on that, let's listen to Kathleen Sebelius. Boy, this is brilliant. This is the former Obama HHS secretary, former governor of Kansas, drinking every drop of Kool-Aid about this. Cut number one, she's talking to our favorite, one of our favorites, Jim Acosta from MSNBC. Is he just the world's biggest drip and klutz? So he's asking her about the scourge of the unvaccinated. And she just weaves this wonderful tapestry of segregationist thinking. It's beautiful. So let's go with cut one.
The fundamental job that any elected official, particularly somebody in an executive branch agency, a governor, a president, a mayor, looks at is safety and security of the constituents he or she serves. That's primary. Then the economy, then other things. But protecting the people who you're elected to serve is really fundamental.
Protecting the safety, protecting the people you're elected to serve is really fundamental, says former Kansas governor and former Obama administration official Kathleen Sebelius. Protecting, remember that when I read you this. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas says about 1 in 5 border crossers arriving at the United States-Mexico border are sick with illnesses. Well, now wait a minute. You're supposed to protect the safety of your constituents. Well, this isn't really adding up. More fuzzy math? During remarks at Georgetown University this week, why the hell is Alejandro Mayorkas at Georgetown University? Shouldn't we be doing other things? I don't know, like not allowing everybody who wants to be here to come here? Maybe. He revealed the extent to which federal immigration officials are encountering sick border crossers who are carrying viruses and diseases. Quote, we're confronted with a population of people that, as a general matter, have a rate of illness of approximately 20%. When one is speaking of 7,000 or 7,500 people encountered at the border every day, if one takes a look at that system, it's not built for that in a COVID environment where isolation is required. Wow, this is sort of like the Lloyd Austin, Mark Milley school of, yeah, we don't really know what we're doing governance. We're not equipped to manage these sick people at the border. Well, no duh. Do you remember that whole Remain in Mexico program that dissuaded people from making that long journey while bringing disease with them and possibly falling ill and dying on the way? Do you remember that? See, that actually had a function. We're not equipped. Well, that's true. You're not equipped. So of the 2,000 people who've come into the country, roughly, with a variety of diseases, including, how about this? This month, CDC officials confirmed that Afghans brought to the United States by the Biden administration have spurred outbreaks of measles, varicella, mumps, tuberculosis, malaria, leishmaniasis. That is a tropical parasitic delight delivered by sandflies. Have you ever heard of it? You haven't, but you do now. Hepatitis A and coronavirus. Border Patrol officials, ladies and gentlemen, must be vaccinated. Not these people. Okay. Cut number 2. You don't have a right. You don't have a right to believe what you want to believe. You don't have a right to be opposed religiously, morally, fundamentally, because you don't know what it's like to be in a stage 3 clinical trial, phase 3. You don't have the right to put Kathleen Sebelius or the people she loves at risk.
I think what President Biden has done is balance between what the science says and trying to cajole, encourage, make it easy for people to follow the science. And when that turned out not to be as effective, then he turned to more hardened mandates. But what people don't have a right to do is make other people sick, put other people in jeopardy, risk other people's lives, risk children's lives. And so I think the president has been walking a line of balancing science and safety and security at every step along the way, hoping that the vast majority of the American public would follow that lead.
Factually incorrect, making children sick. How many sick children do you guys know of? How many children do you know of who've died? 99.998% survivability. And 95% of any child, numbers are under 400, who have died allegedly from COVID have had on average 4 other problems with them. Don't let that get in the way of what you're trying to accomplish here, Kathleen. Following the data, the science. You don't have a right to make me sick, but wait. The analogy. You, ladies and gentlemen, are nothing more than a smoldering cigarette. Cut number 3.
Well, I think you're right. And, you know, to me, it's a lot like secondhand smoke. You have a right to be a smoker. The science is very clear what smoking will do to you, what cancer will be caused, what kinds of health conditions. You have a right to be a smoker. What you don't have a right to do is smoke next to my desk, to blow smoke on me, blow smoke on my children, to force me to live in a housing facility where I am subjected to your smoke. That's a line that we finally in this country that delineates what your individual rights are and what you have a right to do to make me sick and make my kids sick. So I think we're looking at very much.
You don't have a right to decide what's best for you. But they have a right to punish you if you don't activate your clone trooper chip. That wasn't Jim Acosta. Who's that? I'm sorry.
That's Chris Hayes from MSNBC.
My
He's
bad.
as big a boob as
He's the
anyone.
one who said the vaccine was magical.
Yes.
Thank you.
He's the male Rachel Maddow.
Okay. I beg your pardon. They all kind of look alike after a while. I beg your pardon. Both sides. So you hear that, yes? You do not have a right. We actually have a Bill of Rights. And Kathleen, you don't have a right to tell me what rights are mine and what rights are not mine. Interesting. Poll. Majority of people say people should not lose their job for rejecting the vaccine. Source, News Post Wall Publishers. Never heard of them. If you wanted to check it out, that's where it's from. A majority of voters say people should not lose their job over rejecting vaccine mandates, including a majority of independents. A Convention of States Action Trafalgar Group survey released this week found. The survey asked, do you believe Americans should lose their jobs if they object to taking the COVID-19 vaccine? Across the board, 65% said no. Americans should not lose their jobs if they reject the vaccine, while 22.2% said they should. 12% remain unsure. Here you go. The vast majority of Republicans, 83.5%, do not believe Americans should lose their job for rejecting the vaccine, a sentiment held by 63.6% of independents. And even a plurality of Democrats, 47.9%. Ladies and gentlemen, 63.9% of independents. The harder they push, the more they demonize, the more those of you who, for whatever your God-given reason to not do this for your body, the more they push you against the wall, the more this ends poorly. This is read my lips, no new taxes. They're not understanding the optics of telling people what their individual rights and freedoms are. The idea as well that anybody who is hesitant, who wants more information, who wants to be better educated, who wants to see a little more longitudinal data on this. Like, are my ovaries going to continue to function so that I might have a baby down the road? Young women asking that very question. Might that be why female healthcare workers in droves are walking off the job? Because if you put somebody's back against the wall about the possibility of not realizing one of their most important dreams under the auspices of you don't have the right to make people sick, you're going to lose that battle. Dr. Richard Rafferty from the Disc Institute of Pittsburgh does something pretty remarkable for people who've been told spinal surgery is their only answer. It's a dangerous, delicate procedure. And while I'm sure there are many talented surgeons out there to do that, if you don't have to go through surgery, wouldn't you rather take that route? Wouldn't you rather ask Dr. Rafferty about intra-disc neutrosis? Ask him what is so successful about it that 98% of his patients not only see their symptoms resolve themselves, but see their discs heal naturally? Pick up the phone, call Dr. Rafferty at the Disc Institute of Pittsburgh today. 412-906-9600, pittsburghdiscinstitute.com. You know, when we come back, I'm going to share just something kind of brief but important to dispel some of the reasons why I am not down with this vaccine. For me personally, it might not impact you. I hope it doesn't impact you, but I think it's important. And I'm going to share that with you coming up in just a minute. You're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program.
I didn't want to turn your mic off either.
I'm sorry?
I didn't want to turn your mic off.
Oh. No, I gotcha.
A little behind the scenes. Hey, everybody. For the people who responded to Ask Wendy Anything, I got 2 pages of questions. So I appreciate you doing my work for me. And surprise. Maybe I shouldn't have said it. Surprising. There's a lot of good questions in there. I was pleasantly surprised. I'm wondering if I know all the answers.
Well, I kind of like to hear from, I don't know. I might want to do this for the hour. I think it's a nice decompression from all of this stuff that we have.
Do what for an hour?
So we could take some calls.
Okay.
And we can read what you got.
I do have concerns about taking calls and doing that.
Are you worried about calls?
I am, because I can't. It's hard for me to monitor and answer because you aren't equipped with certain things.
What am I not equipped with?
A certain button.
Ah, gotcha.
So it's hard for me to, which is why I like the questions.
Right.
You know, but we can do whatever. I'll manage.
Then it would probably be good to take calls in a break, right? To ask people to call so you can have them in queue.
Correct. So you mean all the lines are lit? Yes.
Okay. You're worried that if somebody swears, I can't dump it.
You can't dump it. Yes. I was trying not to tell everyone so they didn't do it.
They know what you're saying now that I told them.
Right. Thank you.
That's how I roll, people.
I mean, we got enough questions that I think weren't long enough answers. I don't think we'll get through all the questions.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. When are we going to get a dump button?
For you? Probably won't.
Well, then I don't want to be strapped forever to take phone calls. I understand what you're saying, but I'm extrapolating it.
I know.
I love hearing people.
I know.
I really do. You know, and I think that there's this real disconnect between those on their horses telling us this is what you've got to do. And if you don't do what we want you to do, you're a bad person. You're a danger to society. You're a scourge. You're a Trump supporter. You're a this, you're a that. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are not familiar with me, who are beyond the southwestern Pennsylvania region from where I've broadcast for over 20 years. Let me be perfectly honest with you. I've told you I have 5 sons. They are the light of my life. I like to throw them down the stairs sometimes because they're so frustrating. But it's the greatest joy and privilege. It's not an obligation. It is not some responsibility. It's a joy and it's a privilege. And I say that because I didn't have an easy time having my youngest 3 children. If you ever have to go through something as difficult as infertility, and 1 in 5, I believe now, couples can't conceive. You don't know what it's like to feel that emptiness. To love someone passionately, to want to create a new life and share a family together and not be able to do that. If your life, if your marriage can survive infertility, you and your spouse can do anything. Sky's the limit. It was some of the darkest moments of my life. I felt like a failure, though nothing was wrong with me and nothing was wrong with my husband. It just didn't work. And coming from a family of 2, I knew I wanted, of 2 siblings, just 2 children, I should say. I wanted more than that. I had 2 beautiful, wonderful sons. And we scrapped and saved and went through the IVF that we needed. That is why I have twins. And that is why I have my beautiful 3rd son, Ryan. That was a personal decision that we made. They've changed my life. If I didn't have those boys, I would be a much different person today. The thought of young women, little girls, getting a vaccine now before we know what might happen makes me so sick inside. I want to scream. I want to say to the Kathleen Sebeliuses who are grandparents and might never have gone through what so many men and women go through, who might take it for granted that her family life is complete. We don't know. I don't know. I'm not willing to roll the dice on my children having the opportunity to hold their own baby in their arms. I'm not. So when I say to you, the vaccine is effective, yes, it is purposeful for certain people. I have never said don't get it. I'm saying don't judge people who have opposing viewpoints. Because it's not anybody's business how you feel. It sure as hell isn't your employer's. You ought not have to describe the sensitive and tender, intimate reasons why you're concerned. Because you're free to feel that way. That's my reasoning why I'm reluctant for my sons. Because I have 5, roll the dice, one of the 5 is going to have trouble based on what we know now about infertility in this country. And I know I'm going to have to be there for that young man and his wife to help them however I can go through one of the most complicated, difficult, drop you to your knees and look to the sky and say, why can't you just help me? Everybody else can do this. Those of you listening to me who've gone through it know exactly what I'm talking about. So for the Kathleen Sebeliuses and the Joe Bidens and everybody else with their sanctimonious preaching who don't know what the hell they're talking about, shut your mouth. You do you. And by the way, we all know that if you do you and decide to get this vaccine, you can still give me the virus just as much as I can give it to you. So don't put your flag in the sand there, because you're going to lose that battle. We want to all cooperate. We want to live in harmony. But you're walking really close to a fine line. And I dare say this administration has more than crossed it. We are free. We enjoy our freedom. We fight for our freedom, and you're trying to take it away. Don't you dare tell me that I'm this scourge, secondhand smoke that's going to infect you. How dare you? I will stand to fight for my family and for your family. When we come back, you know what it's called? Ask Wendy anything. Brock's got a whole list. Let's go. Let's talk. Let's have fun. You're listening to the Wendy Bell Radio program. Matt and Lauren Krupp are friends of Brock's and mine. And I love Matt's story because he came to Pennsylvania from Missouri with nothing, was sleeping in his car, got a job at a bar, slept on a couch there, tried to scrounge up some money to start a life. He had big dreams, big ideas. And in the bar one night walked in his future wife, Lauren. And together they started something amazing. It wasn't something that somebody gave to them when they passed away. It wasn't some kind of inheritance. It was the product of hard work, dreams, hard work, and the audacity to believe that they could achieve it. And they did. And it's called the Battlegrounds. And it's a 3-story building in Munhall, Pennsylvania that will absolutely blow your mind. If you support American entrepreneurism, if you support American excellence and this whole idea of being extraordinary, because you are, then you need to go see the Battlegrounds, because it is nothing short of extraordinary. It is the area's largest indoor Nerf gun and airsoft gun. playground. It is beyond. Go to their videos. Go online, thebattlegroundspa.com. Check out their videos. Go play. Take your kids. Have a ball. Enjoy and support fellow patriots who believe in American exceptionalism. 412-530-2192. 412-530-2192. Thebattlegroundspa.com. You know what I'm thinking?
What?
That final 7 minutes at the very end of this hour.
Yes.
Let's do the McAuliffe. I want to plug that in there just because I think it is so tone deaf. I think it really kind of underscores so much of what we talk about here. Like, you're not getting it, brother. You're not. There are people who are connected, and then there's this huge, like, chasm, and he's in it.
You want to end it with that?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Or do you want me to start with that?
No, I think you can end it with it.
I think I see like a natural like.
Okay, I think just summing it all up and saying what it's trust. It's out of touch.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's sort of where I was going with that. So that makes sense to you.
It does.
Okay. My lips are so much better. I put stuff on all the time, guys. I know it's obnoxious, but I talk so much that my mouth gets dry and my lips get dry. I don't want to talk. That's why I wanted phone calls. So don't give me that.
I said nothing.
Oh my goodness. Please.
I said nothing.
Yeah.
What time are you coming back on Sunday?
I have no idea.
Just wondering what time my phone's going to start ringing.
I'll leave you be.
I've been taking Saturdays off.
That's smart. I do too. I don't stretch enough. Do you ever stretch? Yeah.
Yeah, I put my yoga pants on. My male yoga pants.
Somebody has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder about that question, doesn't he?
Well, you called me out on fake news on the board yesterday.
You said I wasn't young.
No, you said about me going to the gym.
I know, and you said I wasn't a young lady.
You perpetrated that lie today, too.
Do you guys see? So let's see. We went through Gaetz for Sebelius. I never listened to the sports reporter from MSNBC. Is that worth it?
No.
Okay.
I just, it was more a tie-in from what we talked about yesterday, where that one player was self-reflective, saying this is why, this is, it was very well thought out.
Jonathan Isaac.
And this guy was basically saying he agrees with LeBron James because it wasn't a personal issue. It was a public issue because this is the people who aren't getting it are disproportionately poor. And I'm just like, what's that have to do with why a player gets it or not?
You're being a segregationist.
And then he tied it totally. He came full circle and says it's a social justice cause. So him saying all these guys who knelt and all that for social justice, this pandemic is essentially a social justice cause. I'm like, wow, we're really stretching that one. I wouldn't even attempt to put yoga pants on. It wouldn't look. It's not a good look.
The
for
thought
me.
process on that one is not working with me right now.
It's not a good look on me. Not a good look.
Mr. Incredible?
I don't know what that means.
Like, I call myself, my body, Mrs. Incredible. Did you ever see The Incredibles?
No.
Okay. It's funny because I've got hips.
By the way, you butchered Liar Liar yesterday.
I'm sure I did.
Yeah, it was a kid's birthday wish, not a dream.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm sure you're right. I don't know. I do my best. I don't pay attention to a lot of that stuff. I mean, I remember what I remember, and it's the way I see it. Sorry. You could have jumped in and been like, liar. You're a liar. And
Yeah, I should have, but then I'm like,
no.
I already called her out on fake
news.
You
know what I was thinking about when I was thinking about that? Have you ever read
Think Faster? You got 5 seconds.
Harold and the Purple Crayon? Have you ever read that book?
No. Harry and the Purple
Harold. He drifts off to sleep and looks out the window. That's what I was thinking of.
Well,
the jag.
Sounds like a real interesting book.
Oh my God, I hate you.
Here we go.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program. We're going to call this segment Ask Wendy Anything. I really wanted to say Ask Us Anything because I don't like to be front and center on these things, even though it is the show that I host. I think we're in it together. We are a collective unit here, ladies and gentlemen. After all, we are united to make sure our country doesn't get flushed down the toilet. And right now we are swirling in the porcelain bowl of doom. So that was a description. I like that. You didn't like that. Okay, Brock, you've got the asks. What did people want to know? What do we want to talk about?
Well,
today?
I thought Kathy had a pretty good idea. She says, could we do some Which Would You Rather with Wendy? Well, it's just as much their show as ours. So, yeah, sure.
Okay.
So she had a few to start. Which would you rather invite for Thanksgiving? Don Lemon or Chris Cuomo?
Ooh, that is really complicated.
See, I don't think it is.
You don't?
I don't.
I'd probably ask Don Lemon.
I would too.
That's probably where, but I think because just everything about him and everything about, we are complete opposites. And I think it would be very interesting to hear stories or be able to pick his brain.
Well, not just that. You're not just inviting, they get a +1. If he brings his brother, Andrew Cuomo,
I didn't know that there was a +1 involved.
No, I'm saying, well, whoever invites just one person, if they have an other.
When you're cooking for 19, me.
Cheapskate. Okay. Which would you rather invite for a party? AOC or the Crypt Keeper, Nancy Pelosi?
I would absolutely want Nancy Pelosi.
You know she's bringing good wine.
I would ask Nancy Pelosi to come over, and I would legitimately like to know if I have disliked her for years for a good reason, because everything I hear about her and see about her and listen to her say is in complete contradiction to how I feel inside. So is she for real, or is all of that just a giant charade? And I'd want to know, when are you ultimately going to retire? Because this is just, it's ridiculous.
I would just say, she's bringing a nice treat. I don't know if you'll want to answer this one.
Okay.
Who is more attractive, Schumer or Biden?
This is stupid.
This is a tie.
This is terrible. I think, well, both of them have hair plugs, which I think is totally unnecessary. As a woman with sons who are concerned about their hairlines, because my dad is bald, women, here's a newsflash. No woman I know cares about your hair. I think I would probably say Joe Biden. They both had a lot of Botox, both have a lot of work done. Schumer, everything about him I find kind of gross.
Where would you rather spend a week's vacation, New York or San Francisco?
Probably San Francisco. And I would say this just because I've lived in New York and I did not like it. San Francisco, they've got Pier 39 and they've got great clam chowder.
Wings or steak?
Steak with a side of wings.
Wow, that.
I love steak. I love wings. I'm a very basic person. It doesn't take much.
Heels or boots?
Oh my God.
I think I could answer this one.
Give me a break. I haven't worn heels in 5 years.
VP candidate, Nome or DeSantis?
Probably DeSantis.
Okay.
I think he's outstanding. I like Kristi Noem, but Ron DeSantis has a bigger population. He's had to deal with a lot more, I think. She's been solid, but I could see the media Sarah Palining her. You know what I mean?
I understand. They're going to go after her.
That doesn't mean that she wasn't able to take it. She's tough, and I like her biceps.
Judy, how do you keep your marriage going so long?
Wow.
This is pretty deep.
That's not an easy one. I alluded to this earlier in the program. And I think if you guys have had struggles, and I know you have, because everybody has a detour in life that takes them somewhere they didn't want to go. I would say this, that because I struggled so hard to have the size family I wanted, and because of that, I felt very grateful for the opportunity to be a mother to 5 children. I don't tend to be a big scorekeeper. So I take great comfort and pride in being able to do all of the things I do for and with my family so that my husband does not need to worry about those things. And there's a difference between taking care of things and being blessed to do so, and taking care of things and keeping score, and keeping a mental tally of I do this and you do that. If you just do everything that you possibly can so that your partner doesn't have to worry about those things, there's a tremendous amount of accomplishment and joy and personal satisfaction that comes with that. Anybody who wants to keep score, I think, puts their relationship in jeopardy because there's never an equal score. That was a long answer, but you know where I'm going.
Can I sum it up for Joe?
What?
That he appreciates spending time with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wants to spend time with you. And that's huge too.
Yes, absolutely. I should say this too. I'm fortunate to be married to a man who buys all of my clothing. He takes care of strange, nuanced things for me because I hate to shop. So he enjoys doing that. We have a good relationship, and we both like beer. Go ahead.
Right. You've talked about the differences between you and your family and sister in California. Is everyone in California family liberal? And were you always conservative?
Okay, so I registered to vote on the beach in Zuma Beach in Malibu, California, where they filmed Baywatch when I was 18 years old. And I registered Republican because of Ronald Reagan, because I grew up in the 70s and the 80s. And really, my first memory of politics was Ronald Reagan. And I always liked him. And I always felt like he was honest and trustworthy. And so I voted that way or registered that way. When I went to college and I went to the University of Colorado, and this is 1988 to 1992, it was uber liberal as it is now. And I was very much turned off by professors who were pushing their political ideology on the students, forcing you to basically spit back what they believed or else get penalized and have a bad grade. Because I had an objective, and the objective was to go to graduate school. And I needed to have the grades I needed to have to get there. So I had problems with that. However, I twice voted for Bill Clinton. So that's where I was, okay? I was never like, I'll only go on the right. That wasn't. But watching the politics evolve, I can say I've always been conservative. Yes, I've always been profoundly moved by America, by the flag. I've always had a reverence for our military and our veterans. And my family, I believe, feels the same way. I believe my sister, who's quite liberal, has always been that way, or probably became that way when she was in college. And it's only been since I've been on the radio that we don't really have that great of a relationship anymore. And that's a shame. I was fired from one of my jobs because the woke triggered left extrapolated from one of my monologues about 20 seconds of audio and created a tweet alleging that I was inciting violence, that I was encouraging people during last summer to take guns and shoot people on the street, which was completely factually incorrect. And albeit wrong, the mob got to the bosses where I used to work and they let me go. And looking back retrospectively, I'm exceedingly grateful. I'd like to thank those people, because if it weren't for all of those things, I wouldn't be where I am doing what I want to do, how I want to do it, with whom I want to do it today. But it's definitely my politics, in that I have politics that I share publicly on the radio. I don't talk about it to my family. That's not what I believe we need to discuss. But the tension is there. And it hurts my feelings that's where we are. But that's where we are. It sucks.
Who influenced you? Was it Joe, Rush Limbaugh? What was that pivotal moment?
Wow. I don't know if I have an answer for that.
I think Rush did.
I've been listening to him. I listened to him for years and years and years. And I think influencing me radio-wise, I would definitely say Rush, because I remember looking forward to noon. I remember waiting to go outside after I'd been fired from one of my many jobs. And it would be a day where I could blow leaves in the fall and the sun was out and the wind was blowing and I could blow leaves and have my earbuds in and listen to Rush Limbaugh. And no matter how bleak anything ever felt, or how sideways the world appeared to be, or how corrupt the politics have always been, Rush had this great way of making you feel like it was okay, that the family unit was still the most important thing. And hey, don't forget that God exists and that you're loved, and that there's this wonderful thing bigger than us called American exceptionalism. And this is okay. This will work itself out. We've got this. I think that's what I have always wanted to, is this new chapter in my life, carry on as his legacy. Like, we can talk about the tough stuff and laugh at some of the idiocy and even cry at some of the hurtful stuff. But the overarching message here is, you're blessed. We're blessed. We live in the greatest place ever. And you're only limited by the size of your dreams.
And you know, with Joe, 20 some years ago when you met Joe, you didn't talk about politics back then.
Nope.
That was never part of who you dated.
He knew who I was, but it just wasn't something that was a defining factor in our lives. And I have to say, it was a lot better back then. Gotta say it. It's a fact. I want to thank Bruce Freshwater. He is the veteran who owns Sierra Experts. You know, everybody has a website. Your business needs to have a website in order for you to get your message or your product or your skill out there to the public. And how that website runs depends on the people running it, right? And if your information technology people are not really doing a good job, you need to call Bruce and say, I need Sierra Experts on my job. These folks they're a managed service provider. They can set up your network, they can secure it, they can design your website, they can manage it, and they can do so much more than that. And they can do it within the parameters of your budget. And he's wonderful to work with. You're going to love them. Go to sierraexperts.com or call 412-379-8333. Tell them we sent you. Dynamite people, Sierra Experts. All right, when we come back, we'll do a little bit more off the cuff. Ask us anything. You're listening to the Wendy Bell Radio program.
I still have a whole nother page.
Are these segments bombing?
What? No, I don't think they are. You know, when we add more people and more stations, these kind of segments help, because they help the people who haven't been along for the whole ride, that haven't been here since day one. get to know you other than just your monologues and stuff like that, and give everyone the opportunity to, because it's not a lot of people who have the opportunity to reach out and say to someone they watch, to a Rush Limbaugh, hey, tell me something about yourself. You know, you don't really get that. You know, maybe in his early days he did stuff like that, but
when do you want to do a D'Onofrio?
you can do it right now if you'd like. Or you mean, why don't you do it at 27:30? Then you can come back and send it to break. Or we can do it like we've been doing right out of that. Why don't we do it right out of that 48 break?
Okay.
We can take that a little early.
Yeah, I like
People are
that.
saying they love this segment.
Kind of rolling the dice on it. See, my problem
Wait,
is...
how has this been any different than anything else we've tried?
No.
Roll the dice, throw it against the wall.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, I was a lousy liar as a kid, and I lost my parents' trust, as I told you at the beginning. I have a visceral reaction to that. I won't do it. You know?
Let's hear about Brock. There's not much of a story here. Who's your favorite cousin? And you better answer.
Allison?
Yes. Did you know she was watching? There you go, Allison.
I've got nothing here. I've got no connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
I've got nothing. But I know Allison. She's awesome. And she can sing like an angel.
Sort of like me. I've heard you sing. Allison must have got all the talent.
She must have gotten all of it.
Does Brock have another job? No. I don't have time to have another job.
I lured him to the dark side.
I don't have time to have another.
He quit a job and was fired from a job because of me. Mm-hmm. See how I can ruin people's lives?
Brock is great. I wouldn't go that far, Regina.
Right?
Brock is realistic.
Whatever.
I will tell you a little secret. Brock saw all of this before anyone else. In this industry, anyone else. Brock, roll your eyes all you want.
Hold on, I can only do it while I'm sighing.
Yeah, right. You keep reporting that fake news.
Throw me down the steps.
Yep.
That's my favorite thing. I'll throw you down the steps.
Can I just shut up? I could.
Wow.
But then you wouldn't be triggered.
Is it the same person who was snarky earlier?
I don't know. Paul Harvey was great. Loved Paul Harvey. Here we go.
All right, go for it, Brock. I know you got another one.
Oh, we got another one.
Yeah. Are you guys enjoying Ask Wendy Anything? Because we're rolling the dice on this. We spitball on you guys and see how things stick. Because sometimes it's nice to just have something that you want to know answered. Who knows? Maybe you don't.
So this is along the same lines as something you kind of talked about earlier. How did you feel, you and your husband, when you found out you were having twins? And probably the more important question, how are you able to manage during that first year?
First year of what?
Having twins.
Oh, my goodness.
Since you had 5 kids. Then.
Right. I was so excited. Oh, my goodness. Because I'd gone through IVF 3 times. And the second time, there's a trigger shot you've got to give yourself to. I mean, the injections in your belly and all this stuff. It's really pretty crazy. And working a full-time job, I remember doing injections in the car so people wouldn't see. It was crazy. I missed the trigger shot. I screwed up which one I gave myself. You know, this is a $10,000 thing thrown away because I made the mistake of choosing the wrong vial. And so the eggs ostensibly that are going to be withdrawn it was awful. So when I found out we were having twins, I was so excited. I saw these two little things on the ultrasound and I was like, shut the front door. This is so awesome. Are you kidding me? And I called Joe excitedly. And I'm like, oh my gosh, guess what? We're having twins. And he said nothing. And I was like, wah, wah. Not really the response I was looking for. And he's like, no, I'm worried about your ability to carry twins. And I was like, what? I'm a rock star. I'm going to totally do this.
He went right in the doctor mode.
Right. Yeah, he did. He's like, you're not big enough as a human being to have two people inside of your belly. And I was like, whatever. The guy who has all the medical experience, I have none. I know better. So yeah. So at 30 weeks and 1 day when I went into labor, yeah, he was right. And they were very small, 3'13" and 4'2". But, when you have twins, it's funny. This is true. And anybody out there who's a twin or has a twin or twins knows there's always a patient baby and then there's a crazy baby. And so patient is nice, patient, slow Chris, and is always impatient Bobby. So when they would wake up, Bobby would be frantic and Chris would just be looking at me like, seriously, I was sleeping. And I'd have to feed Bobby first because he was frantic. And then when he was done, Chris was just looking at me and he was able to be fed and taken care of. It was perfect.
It's like it is today.
Yeah.
Can I double down on that question in a minute? Did you ever think of adopting?
I would have in a heartbeat. Absolutely. And if this hadn't happened, I absolutely would have considered that for sure. I was one of those girls who hated babysitting because other people's kids drove me crazy. But I didn't realize until I had my own child that it was my destiny. And it's the biggest pleasure and job I have. It is a job. It is a full-time job, and I will forever be grateful for that job. 100%.
This one we can fit in before the bottom of the hour break.
Yeah.
When is your Macy's couch being delivered? I think she wants to know. This might be a question because of me, so I don't have to help you move it.
This is ridiculous. So the couch is ready. I had to push it back to October 30th. The last day it could possibly be delivered. This is what it's like in America today when people aren't working or it's just impossible to have anybody show up at your house. You guys remember my basement got flooded and we had everything moved out. It's been a complete shite show ever since, okay? Finally got French drains. That took 3 months. Finally now have a guy putting in a bathroom doing a great job. I just need somebody to drywall it and then I can have the basement. Yes. Then I can have my new couch come in. Literally, it's like pins and needles. Like, oh my God, are we going to make it on Halloween? I think it's like Halloween or the day before Halloween that the stupid couch comes.
I'm coming over and spilling chocolate candy on it.
I'm going to take a picture of it so you can see it is nothing brilliant. This is not, like I've said, the wood does not come from Nazareth and we're not getting like new buck from like Africa where I'm selecting the cow and we're going to slaughter it and have it cured. No, it's a cement colored gray sectional. Like, oh, wow, that's really hot. You're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program. When we come back, we'll see if you guys have more to talk about. It looks like Brock is nodding. It looks like there's more to talk about. There's always something to talk about when you're on Fuego. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. This orange teriyaki isn't bad. Are you hungry?
No, I'm not. I had breakfast.
So did I. I don't like venison, but I don't. I think it's too gamey. I've never had good stuff then. I don't know.
Right.
I tried to make it and it was awful.
Well, That says it all.
No.
I was the one that had to try to help the deer in your backyard. You wouldn't even come help me with that.
Stop. That's awful. Extrapolating jerky to a deer that my dog killed.
Your dog didn't kill it.
He chased it and ran into a fence and then ripped its antler off, and
they shot it.
And then he killed a baby bunny. Like 2 days later, he killed a baby. I've never seen a baby rabbit. Never seen a bunny. It was this big.
She ate all the Twizzlers. There are no Twizzlers. Oh, so she was hiding the other bag.
You're retarded. No, but deer jerky, venison jerky, I guess. Wow. Is that good?
Venison is so much better for you.
I'm sorry?
Venison's better for you. It's not as fatty.
Because, I'm worried about that.
Well, obviously, I'm not worried about it either, but I like it.
I literally crave steak.
Oh, steak and wings. Steak, wings, and pizza. I could literally eat probably every day.
But
you know how many times when we were in your basement, I would drive home and I'd think, I'm stopping there tomorrow. And I'd tell myself I'm stopping. I never did, but there's two great pizza places by her house.
But I like weird stuff too. Not weird, but I like kale. I like riced cauliflower. I like I love those salads, grilled salmon salad with blue cheese. I love blue cheese. It's a big, you either love it or you hate it. It's not like, meh.
I always complain about places that have their menus too big. But one thing I like about going to Stinky's is they have different sandwiches. Like you could get your regular burger and stuff like that, but they have different sandwiches. I go every time, I'm like, I think I'm going to try this because it's different.
I had a grilled cheese there the other day.
Was it good?
Yes.
I almost got it the other day.
And then Val's favorite is, it's like a breakfast sandwich.
It's the egg with the,
yeah,
I've had that.
Love that. Do you like, here's what I like on a burger sometimes. Have you ever gotten a burger with a fried egg on it?
Oh, yes.
Right? With bacon and sometimes even little onion straws. Ugh.
There's a burger.
Guacamole.
Rock Bottom called the 2 a.m. burger. It's a burger, an egg, a dippy egg, and hash browns.
Ooh.
Cheese, bacon. I'm like, I get it.
Johnny on the spot.
And then I go home and I'm just a wreck.
Yeah, you're like,
you're like, oh, God's gonna go to bed.
That's what I also like stuff like grits. I like grits. I like Southern food.
I love diner breakfast.
Well, how could you not? It's the best. My thing, I wanted to open a diner or something that only served breakfast and dessert.
Right. Andy and I go to a diner in Green Tree every Saturday
awesome.
Morning. It is.
Bob's? Is it Bob's?
No.
No.
That's in Carnegie?
That's in Carnegie. They have good Eggs Benedict. If you put hollandaise sauce on shoes, I'd eat them. I'd be like, looks a little dirty.
Boots or heel shoes?
Okay. Well, and I can't wear heels I have extreme arthritis in my big toe joints. It's called hallux rigidus, and it is the most painful thing in the world.
You had surgery for it.
It's from over-exercise, they say, which I find farcical.
That's why I don't have it.
I'm going to ultimately have to have surgery.
Oh, I thought you talked about having it already.
Oh my God, no. I need cortisone injections first. And I'm not down with that.
Coppy's Diner in Harrisburg area is the best.
Diners in general. I mean, that's why I love driving from California to Colorado or to Missouri for school, because we would just stop diners. You just stop at diners every time. You put on 10 pounds, but my goodness. Biscuits and gravy, bring it.
Oh,
bring
I
it.
can do some damage on
with
some
some
good
hash browns on it. Just throw it in there. Let's go.
I could do some damage on biscuits and gravy.
Mm-hmm. My problem is I can't. I can have one, and then I'm like, ugh.
I can have more than one. I'll pay the price, but it's worth
I
it.
can't do it. It's too
Here we go.
stuffed. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Radio program. Before we continue with Ask Me Anything, I wanted to say this to you guys. I just saw this yesterday. Whole Foods ripped over woke attempt to pander to Black community. This is delicious. Look, I appreciate people who think Whole Paycheck is a great place to go and get pretty produce that's quote unquote organic. A size family of mine, you don't shop at Whole Foods. You just don't. It is not financially reasonable. You want to go to Aldi, okay? I'm going to go to Aldi before I go to Whole Foods. So maybe I have a chip on my shoulder, and I think that people who go there oftentimes are snobbish, but that's okay. High-end grocery chain Whole Foods was excoriated online after a social media user posted a photo of a woke banner at one of its locations that some saw as empty pandering to the Black community. And it said this: racism has no place here. We support the Black community. Why did they go bonkers inside or outside? How many Whole Foods stores are in Black communities, are in urban communities? Zero. Besides, apparently, the people who worked there wanted to wear Black Lives Matter stuff, and the company owned by Amazon called no joy on that. Nope, you can't do that. And they went nutty. So, sometimes you go woke, you go broke. We'll see. I think rich people will still buy stuff at Whole Foods. Not only rich people, but I mean, seriously, it's just not financially reasonable. Anyway, I just wanted to drop that on you. There you go. Brock, go ahead.
Linda wants to know, what do you think of Dollar Tree raising prices to over $1?
Literally, I have this right here. I was going to say it right before you said that. How about that? After expanding nationwide from only a handful of stores in Georgia, Tennessee, and Virginia, Dollar Tree is breaking the mold and will sell items in some locations that exceed the tantalizing $1 grab and go price. This is indicative of where we are. Inflation is going to be, look, when Joe Biden says that this is zero tax, no, you're not going to pay more. Well, yeah, the truck paying the higher gas prices passes that cost onto you, onto your bacon, onto your milk, onto your Dollar Tree. This is where we are. I mean, whether it's by design, it kind of feels like it, doesn't it? I don't know. And I think there are some places that are dollar stores that are always more than $1. But I think Dollar Tree was the one where literally everything inside was supposed to only be $1. So we'll see. Now it's going to be like $1.58 tree. We'll see how it goes. I don't know.
$1.08.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't have been, fired from your TV news anchor job, do you think you would have eventually quit? I like this question. Because you have to think of it from a standpoint of TV pays decent money. So you're giving up a lot. But go ahead.
Okay, so if I had not been fired, do I think I would have quit? And my answer is, I was in this conundrum about 6 months before I lost that job, which is interesting. I was seeing some things in television news. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with me, I've worked in television news, national TV in New York City, local news in St. Louis, Missouri, and here in Pittsburgh. And so I understand television. I understand broadcasting. I was good at it. But I saw the change in the industry, and it was very disappointing. And it was an election year well before Donald Trump. But I was seeing the bias in the scripts I was supposed to be reading. And I spoke up about it, and I got called into the office and was told I should just shut up and read the teleprompter. And that's not something you tell somebody who cares passionately about facts and truth. And I never, ever alluded to my politics. And I told my husband, I said, Joe, I don't think I've got another 12 years in me. Because at 30 years, I would have been fully vested in my pension. I'm 18. And that would have been a wonderful payday every month, right? And I said, I just don't think I don't think I feel the joy in me doing this for that long. There's just no way. And he looked at me and he said, Wendy, we have 5 kids. You're going to keep doing this as long as you have to do this. And I was like, well, Shazam, that kind of laid an egg on my plans here. So I think at the end, I was really grateful. It was ugly and nasty. And I've been called, I'm an international racist. I was in headlines across the planet for posting an opinion on Facebook about why don't we pay attention to black on black crime? Why don't we get to the root of the problem? And you're not allowed to say that if you're a white woman in Pennsylvania. But I was grateful, and I'm eternally grateful for them for firing me, yes.
But would you have quit?
I don't know if Joe would have let me. I think I would have been very challenged and unhappy. You know, here's the thing, and this is why we talk about American exceptionalism. You know, Brock and I don't work 8-hour days. We work 14, 16-hour days. Now, am I in the hospital like my husband with 24 patients in his office today and, you know, catheterizations and emergencies and stents and no. But I'm constantly looking and thinking and we're always planning. It's a different thing when you're doing it on your own behalf for the benefit of an endeavor that you've created than when you're doing it for someone maybe whose values you don't agree with. So this great experiment that we're doing, like, you know, I don't want some company to come to me and tell me what I can and cannot say. That's happened too many times. I can't live comfortably like that and happily. So this is, to me, while scary as heck, and there's no guarantee that it's going to be successful. Brock said a couple years ago it was going to be, so I'm going to trust him.
It's a lot different when you're on the high wire without a safety net.
That's exactly right.
So
that's where we are.
You know, it's a question just came in on our stream, and I think, are you still friends with any of your coworkers?
No.
From WTAE.
No. And that was the bummer of it. It's unfortunate that the industry, and then I talk, you know, somewhat flippantly about television and just media in general. And I think you can probably put government into that category of this super narcissistic, egoistic, but really insecure group of people. And it's unfortunate because you should be very confident as you're delivering the news and who you are and what you're doing. And you don't need people to tell you that you're pretty or handsome or whatever. And that's just that industry. And there's this constant sensation that people are clawing to take your position. They want your chair, kind of like you're in the orchestra and you want to sit first chair flute. You know, when your first chair, number 6, is looking at you, running and gunning for you. That's unfortunate. So people with whom I worked for 18 years, just nothing, just goodbye. Well, you know, that's how many people with COVID and your politics. This has happened to us all over the place. Look, it doesn't talk about my character. I think it describes theirs. And that's fine. Whatever. We move on. Brock?
Okay. This one says, for both of you, was there a moment, a day, a segment, a planning meeting where you knew you two would make great partners?
I can answer this.
Do you want to go first or second?
I know what your answer is going to be. So I think I do. I don't know for a fact. So, you know, I stumbled into radio when a host of a show where Brock had been working asked me to come and kind of fill in for him when he was going through some treatments for cancer. And I thought, for sure, I'll do whatever I can to help you. And so he brought me in, and with literally zero training, I got zero. Nobody told me, okay, this button is your microphone. This is how you pick up phone calls. This is the clock. This is what you need to worry about. Like literally zero. And I filled in for him a couple times and had producers who really weren't terribly helpful. And then one day, Brock, his schedule got bounced and he had to fill in that slot. And so that's how I remember it. And he filled in, and on the call screening line, he was giving me notes. Make sure you're out by, 10:48 or such and such. He would put up little pointers for me, and I'm like, oh my goodness, thank you so much. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this before. I'm trying my hardest. And he was the one person who, one, was professional for sure, but I think cared that I wasn't uncomfortable. And in media, that goes a long, long way. So when I later was offered my own full-time show at said station, I said I would take that position with one condition, and that is that Brock would be my producer. And that was granted, and the rest is history. What was your answer?
Well, mine was from a totally different side. You know, when you came in, I knew nothing about you other than what I read like everybody else.
That I was an international racist?
Yes. That I heard you're a horrible person and whatever. I'm not big on listening to other people. So before I took the job, I was offered a job to work with you. And I went to someone who did work with you. And I said, what should I do? And he says, you take that job now. He's like, he's like, I know you. He's like, I can't say that I can say there's many people out there that can outwork you. He's like, good luck. You won't outwork her. And because I respected his opinion, and it was purely it was not anything other than a purely working decision. That's how I made it.
Well, how other than working decisions would you make?
Well, you know, like it wasn't a personal decision.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't listening. He didn't tell me. He's like, I don't agree with her. You know, blah, blah, blah. I said, that's not what I'm worried about. How's it working with her? He's like, you'll love it. She's hardworking. That's all that matters to you. That's how you're making your decision. I said, yes. So it was.
Isn't that tender? Doesn't that just bring a tear to your eye? It's so tender and touching. Oh.
This one's for me. Brock, what was it that led you to realize Wendy has the it factor and has it so strong that you've moved along with her to start this venture? She doesn't believe it. I saw this before anybody else. You can ask my wife. I will say I saw it, and I say I waited 20 years for it, to the person who, when I'm working, I'm also listening. To someone that is compassionate to the callers, who does their homework and just doesn't read the headlines. I worked with too many people that just would flick on the mic and didn't care from day to day. I like that someone on that side of the board, as we call it, cares as much as I do on this side of the board, because I can only do my job so much. The show has to succeed through her. I'm just a part of it, but I want it to be the best it can be with my end. And if I do my end great, but she doesn't do her end great, it doesn't work. And it's vice versa, but she cared, she worked hard, and she understood timing, and she was willing to try anything, which is why we started the stream and stuff like that. So that's
and she's fabulous.
That never came into question.
All right. You know what? And this is important to me, if you've ever heard me in the stream and whatever, fitness and being in shape and taking care of how I look. It's the 1 hour several days a week that I carve out for myself. And the rest of the time is working and family and if I'm lucky, blowing leaves in the driveway. But if you're in this position where you're like, you know what, I need to join a gym, and they all seem kind of alike. Well, they're not, because More Gains Fitness, with 4 locations in Somerset and Cambria counties, they're different because of the owners. They're veterans, they're patriots, they're good people, they're family people, and they care. They do the right thing because it's always the right thing to do. So when you walk inside, you're going to see a lot of the same stuff that you see elsewhere, probably, but you're not going to meet the same kind of people inside. Like-minded, patriotic, hardworking people. More Gains Fitness. They also have franchises available for sale. How about also childcare? Go to moregainsfitness.com, MORGAINZ fitness.com. All right, when we come back, I have one final soundbite that I want to share with you. It really underscores the complete disconnect in this country among so many of us, and I'm going to explain that to you coming up next on the Wendy Bell Radio program.
statistics. Yeah, you want to do that right out of
Yes, please.
like we've been doing?
Yeah, I like that. And I
Okay.
like how you do the music. It's nice.
Okay.
Plus, I can make it a 30.
Right. Well, if you all love that segment,
We'll do it on Thursdays.
you just have to participate.
Yeah. That was great. I think those were some really interesting questions. And you're right. You know, it's the challenges that as we go into more radio stations, radio markets, I mean, for me to tell you that we're going to be in Rolla, Missouri and in suburbs of St. Louis, Missouri is really cool. And some stations are going to time shift us, meaning we're live from 9 until noon Eastern, but they might save us and plug us in at midnight because they have other things going on contractually and they can't put us in. I'm delighted by that. And I have to remember that people in those markets are going to be listening and they're going to say, who's this woman? I don't recognize this voice. And so I think that segment is very beneficial. Yeah. A station in Michigan.
It's a true Wendy O'Toole segment.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it's kind of rolling the dice because I don't know what he's going to ask me, but or what you're going to ask, but it's kind of fun too.
Yeah, I mean, I only had one question out of that, and that was, would you have quit? Because you kind of gave the I'm in front of the Senate answer.
I don't know if I would have been able to. I don't know with the money I was making.
Right. And that's what I said. It's a hard decision.
I know that I would have.
Now you probably could have because TV doesn't pay as well.
I know I would have been very sad. The thought of that going back to local news. Somebody asked me that not that long ago, and just the thought of it made me very sad.
I always say that my best day was Wendy's worst day.
It was just mean. It was mean. It was wrong, and they knew better. But
when isn't a firing mean, though?
No, this was particularly spiteful, and they did that so I wouldn't get a job anywhere else.
Oh, so did I know another one of those. So,
like, whatever. I don't wish any ill will to any of those people.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I would be inclined to send a message to someone and be like, I appreciate it. Because you pushed me in the direction I needed to be.
Forced me to make decisions.
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. Don't forget to let it play for a little bit.
Gotcha. You know, I want to tell you this. John D'Onofrio is the state lawyer I trust. You know, he handles something very delicate, and that's your peace of mind when you consider where your wealth, where your hard-earned money goes after you pass away. That's what an estate lawyer does. John's got 40 years of experience. He is the best. He's the guy I trust. 412-928-2068. If you need to make this decision and get that peace of mind, he's the guy I would call. Attorney John D'Onofrio, 412-928-2068. You know, it's interesting. We were talking earlier in the program about this tremendous... Yes, it's lies. Yes, it's so much more than that. There's this tremendous disconnect from people who are so deeply entrenched in politics that they've almost lost their ability to realize what it's like to be like everybody else. You know, to worry about how much money it takes to put your kids into a Catholic school or to pay for braces. Or are we going to be able to help contribute to your college fund? Can I feed you this week? You know, they're so disconnected. But when it comes to your children's education, there should be no debate. I want you to hear this. This is in a debate. Former Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe and Glenn Youngkin, the Republican candidate, I believe, going back and forth about this is crazy about parents and the rights of parents when it comes to their children, their books, their education, and their schools. This is the Democrat McAuliffe. Listen.
What we've seen over the course of the last 20 months is our school systems refusing to engage with parents. In fact, in Fairfax County this past week, We watched parents so upset because there was such sexually explicit material in the library they had never seen. It was shocking. And in fact, you vetoed the bill that would have informed parents that they were there. You believe school systems should tell children what to do. I believe parents should be in charge of their kids' education.
Mr. McAuliffe, 30 seconds.
So first of all, this shows how clueless Glenn Youngkin is. He doesn't understand what the laws were because he's never been involved here in helping Virginia. But it was not. The parents had to write to veto books, Glenn, not to be knowledgeable about it, also take them off the shelves. And I'm not going to let parents come into schools and actually take books out and make their own decision.
You vetoed it.
So, yeah, I stopped the bill that I don't think parents should be telling schools what they should teach.
What we've seen over the...
Hold on. There we go. We just wanted to give you guys some psychedelic time warp there. Wow. He doesn't believe that parents should be knowledgeable about what's inside the books in their children's libraries at school. You don't think that parents should know that in their elementary library is a book on anal sex, or that there's a book about masturbation or other highly sensitive things that I'm pretty sure they don't need to know about in the 5th grade, Terry. Do you hear the disconnect? Look, it's a topic that I don't think anybody wants to talk about, but if we branch out, if we zoom out to the satellite level and we look at the argument, this gentleman, a former governor who wants to be governor again, says you should not know what's going on in your schools. Sir, you're so out of touch. You clearly don't have children in the school system. Ought you be in charge of making these decisions? I think fundamentally this is where we are in society. You have a group of people who are so fundamentally out of touch. Is it possible for an 84-year-old Nancy Pelosi to know what it's like to raise a child in an inner city without money? No, because if you look at her district, if you look at San Francisco, it's gone to hell in a handbasket. I don't care. These people are not qualified to be able to tell us what it's like. This is the crux of the problem. They don't represent us. We're supposed to serve them. Ladies and gentlemen, in the United States of America, last time I checked, those two things were reversed. If you're elected, you have the privilege to serve us. We, the people, we make the rules, not you. And until we have a fundamental restructuring of the hierarchy in this country, until it's we the people in charge and the few, the 300 or the 535 in Congress being the few who serve us, forever there's going to be this us versus them mentality. If these bills pass, ladies and gentlemen, do you think their taxes go up? Yours will. We appreciate so much that you've chosen this program, that you have found the Wendy Bell Radio program. Now take it to the next step. Please download our app. It's free. Search in your app store, Wendy Bell Radio Network, and we'll see you there. Until Monday, peace, everyone.